Now,
Salam, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining this important webinar. Today, we gather under the title of Global Structures Driving Genocide and Starvation. What we are confronting is not a random chaos. It is a system. From Gaza to Sudan to Congo, famine and mass displacement are not accidents of nature. They are engineered tools of war, used deliberately to erase peoples, cultures, and futures. As doctors, humanitarians, activists, and survivors, we know that genocide is not just a crime against one people. It is a direct assault on human health, on the very foundation of life, everywhere. It destroys hospitals, starves children, weaponizes disease, and turns relief into a trap. These are not isolated tragedies. They are interconnected symptoms of a global architecture of impunity. And let us be clear, like every genocidal regime before, Israel must be disarmed. Israel must be disarmed, grounded, sanctioned, and driven into unconditional surrender before the last Palestinian child's life is taken. From Nazi Germany to Serbia to Rwanda, the world acted decisively. The same moral imperative applies now. Anything less is complicity. But complicity is not only found in perpetrators. It is also found in the genocide launderers and washers, those who acknowledge atrocities only to strip them of urgency, accountability, and consequence. They sanitize genocide into policy debates, press releases, and calls for peace without justice, laundering blood into rhetoric. And along them stand the forensic humanitarians, those who reduce genocide to detached documentation, papers, publications, and post-conflict reports, treating it as a case study instead of a rupture, demanding urgent intervention and justice. These are the enablers of impunity. Without them, the perpetrators could not act so freely. In this webinar, we will examine the medical front lines of this violence, starvation, refeeding syndrome, the consequence of sexual violence in famine and war zones. We will hear from courageous voices in Gaza, Sudan, Congo, who risk everything to testify to the truth. And we must remember the Gaza suffering has already laid bare the entire anatomy of genocide. Bombed hospitals, murdered doctors, starved babies, silenced journalists. The truth is undeniable, and history is watching. This is not a seminar of despair. It is a call to action. It is tragic. We are sounding the sirens and the alarm. Our mission is clear: to document, to resist, and to stop the genocide, to demand accountability. The lives of millions of children, families, and communities depend on whether the world continues to normalize these crimes or whether we rise together to stop them. Thank you for standing with us today. And let us begin with our webinar. As usual, we have a great list of speakers today from all over the world. We are talking about 3 concurrent genocides that are happening at the moment in Gaza, in Sudan, in Congo, and we are having victims of these genocides and doctors and healthcare workers and activists talking about all of them. Because of the time zone situation and because of the unpredictable connectivity with our colleagues in Gaza, we usually start with Gaza. We have 2 brave friends and advocates from Gaza today. We have Mr. Iyad Amawi and we have Azudin Lulu. We're going to start with Iyad. Iyad, if you want to just introduce yourself, please, and give us what's the latest update on the situation in Gaza. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I hope my colleagues, all of you are well. I'm Iyad Al-Amawi, the Relief Committee representative and a free journalist for multiple channels. Also, I'm NGO's coordinator here for a lot of charities over the ground in Gaza. Thank you, Dr. Nidal, for your interest and for your nice introduction about the catastrophe in Gaza. As my colleagues know, what's happening now in the Gaza town, I mentioned that in my last report, like something like silent occupation. What's happening in Gaza today described as a silent occupation, carefully designed to throw a plan that appears a humanitarian on the surface, but is deeply malicious at its core, allowing trucks to enter and conducting airdrops of food and basic needs supplies with the limited numbers also for trucks is presented to the world as an act of human compassion aimed at easing the life and easing the catastrophe here crisis. Yet at the same time, there's a deliberate disruption of civilian ministers and local institutions responsible for managing the economy and community here, affairs creating a state of intentional chaos. This strategy results in multiple shapes. The first one, increased humanitarian suffering. It arrives in an unorganized manner without fairness or stability in distribution, deepening the scenes of deprivation. The second thing is dismantling of administrative structure. When ministers are paralyzed, people lose trust in our local national institutions. And also this has become dependent on external actors also. So the third one, imposing a destroyed reality. Life seems barely merely possible. But in reality, and filled with continuous catastrophe, continuous crisis, that gradually push residents to consider migration or displacement or accept any solutions. Something that was happened in the GH warehouses. The people went there multiples and still going there to seek food, even though the trucks entering the Gaza, because there is no organization supervised over the distribution with the fairness, depending on database system for UN agencies. The fourth roots of this plan is normalizing control. The occupation also portrays itself to the international public as facilitating aid delivery, while in reality, it wages a battle more insidious than direct warfare, starving people and dismantling their society. This is what I mentioned before, Dr. Nidal and my colleagues, engineering chaos. Engineering chaos led the full collapsation for the society and any civilians' affairs that can manage our civilian life. So it's not fair, something like that. So as a new phase of the war, on Gaza maybe approaches a large-scale displacement looms. And this is the big threat, Dr. Nidal, that will maybe happen at any time because the Israeli intends to force us to be displaced from the Gaza town and potentially affecting around 1 million people still trapped in the Gaza city now. city and the northern part of the Gaza Strip. This looming displacement at the beginning of the war for several key reasons. Firstly, absence of the safe havens, no safe shelters. In the early months of the war, displacement was different, completely different toward Rafah and Khan Yunis, where some infrastructure still exists there. Schools, hospitals, and temporary shelters, along with the relative access to the water, electricity, and food. Today, however, most of those areas have completely destroyed, cleansing. So, or several depleted, leaving them incapable of hosting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people of a new displacement waves. So you can imagine there's no Rafah, there is no Khan Yunis, just the coastal area shrinked from the 60 square kilometers, just maybe up to the 17 square kilometers. They need to do that. The Israeli intent and force us to be displaced there. The second thing, a shift in the nature of displacement. Early displacement involved moving from one area of the strip to another. The current displacement, however, is closer to forced displacement, expulsion into the unknown, with no infrastructure, with no sweet water, or institutions capable of absorbing these waves of displacement, such a massive number. The displaced force and face of reality exposure, chaos, and dire humanitarian and conditions. The third thing is deliberate restrictions also, Dr. Mdal and my colleagues. The occupation is managing something, this a new phase through a strategy aimed at draining the last remaining elements of life. While limited aid is allowed in the through limited number of trucks or airdrops, there is no empowerment of civilian authorities or local governance, making the coming displacement even more complex and dangerous. The fourth thing, the risk of mass expulsion. With no viable refugee inside the Gaza Strip, so that if you remember my colleagues yesterday, the COGAT announced they will let tents and shelters to entering the Gaza because they know very well there is no free space, there is no infrastructure that will capable this waves of displacement. So the risk of mass expulsion, whether towards maybe they need to force us to be expelled with other places. You can imagine this situation is complex more and worsen more and more. In the last point, I will talk about the shadow economy that the Israeli made now after they let the trucks enter into the Gaza. It's very important note to know under normal conditions in any region in the world, markets reflect the balance between supply and demand. While a structured system of production and distribution during wars and blockades, this is balance collapses, giving rise to what is known as a shadow or phantom economy. Production is no longer central. Activity revolves around the trading, whatever is available, through monopolization or black markets. What's happening now? The economy expands also in numerical terms. This is very important because this is clarification of why all of the world asks about inflation in prices. This is the main reason. Yet to shrinks in real value of goods and services also. The third point of the shadow market, a small group of profiteers and brokers emerges, enriching themselves for the expense of the suffering majority. The second point, how the shadow economy operates in Gaza now. This is very important. Several mechanisms are particularly visible in the Gaza now. The first one is scarcity as a fuel for inflation. Every rare items, flour or oil, medicines, or other goods becomes an object of extreme price hikes. The second, aid it turned into a commodity. Some humanitarian shipments are diverted and sold at inflated prices, depriving those in need. Currency distortion also, which reduced cash flow in the Gaza now, goes rocket in price relative to local income, eroding purchasing power. The fourth point, black market networks. Now we have a black market networks here, informal and unregulated supply chains emerge, reinforcement the shadow economy. So the social impact of inflation here, it's increased the suffering and worsening the situation for the people who is starved until or more than 130 days. Collapse of the middle class families that could previously endure are no longer able to keep up the rising costs also, even though they're entering some number of trucks. The second, deepening inequality. A small minority profits from imports and monopolize, while the vast majority struggles for bread. The third, shift in consumption patterns. People tend to poor. Equality of neutrality weakens substantially, simply to survive. A breakdown of trust also. Communities view traders or certain actors as profiteers exploiting widespread suffering. So it's another weapon of war. The economy now, the Israeli use it as another weapon of war for increasing the suffering. Starvation as a policy, control of supply routes, societal weakening. So, in my expectation for the future consequences here in Gaza, if the current trajectory continues, the consequences of will be dire. A prolonged famine, rising mortality, especially among children and the sick, total collapse of the local economy, no production, no formal trade, only black market survival, and also a compound social crisis, internal displacement, family breakdown, and rising crime rates also. So the pathway for response, this is the bigger questions, and we must answer about this. As you mentioned, Dr. Nadal, we must take actions. Addressing the shadow economy and inflation require urgent measurements. Firstly, open safe humanitarian corridor for food and medicines, bypass intermediates, monitor aid distribution to prevent diversions into market, establish a free or subsidized and distribution system centers in displacement area, and let the UN agency control the full distributions with their depending on over their database. And also document economic violations and submit them to international bodies as a part of war crime evidence. So in my final speech, the shadow economy in Gaza, not just an economical crisis. It's a deliberate mechanism of starvation, a weapon of war, as destructive as a bomb and shells, accelerating inflation traps civilians between poverty and hunger, and demands urgent international intervention to guarantee direct aid delivery and dismantle the the black market system that perpetuate the catastrophe. So this is a big issue now. We have two big cases. The hidden plan for the Netanyahu to force us to be displaced from the Gaza town and to the unknown destination, and also the starvation and the black market and collapsation of the economies here. So this is the main goal that we must talk about and increase our clarification in the international community for that. Thank you, Dr. Nadal and my colleagues for listening to me.
Thank you, Iyad. Karama, do you have any questions for Iyad? Any panelists have any questions for Iyad, please? You're muted, Karama.
Thank you so much for coming. I know it's been very hard over the past 2 days, especially for you. You have released a 2-pager about this topic, and a lot of people are asking about your testimony. Do we have permission to publish what you wrote? Because this is very important information.
Yeah, I grant and appreciated your intervention about initiatives that we need to publish these papers and this speech to the world to understand very well what's happening here by some restriction from the Israeli.
Thank you. It's very important because it's not just a matter of restricting, it's a matter of engineering how this aid is being used which makes it impossible for people to actually have a normal life. So it's a tool of genocide, and that's the title of our webinar today. So thank you. And Iyad has been extremely helpful for us because as you can tell, he's a very intelligent son of Gaza. He knows the situation extremely well, and he's been very helpful for us to get food into the communities that need it and coordinate things with his help in order to overcome all these difficulties that the people are having. We acknowledge that the only solution is a ceasefire and a political solution that will give the Palestinians self-determination and restoration of all human rights. In the meantime, while we are working on this by advocacy, we are also we need to provide aid and offset the financial burdens on the community, and that is what we are doing with DAG Relief. The aid is going directly to Gaza. It goes to people that we trust who can actually get food to the communities on the ground without them having to go through dangerous situations. We pay a lot of money for this because of the price inflation and the price hike. We have no choice, unfortunately. If we are, these are the rules that are set for Gaza to torment it and to starve it to death. We can only do as much as we can. Our capability right now is to try to offset the financial burden on our colleagues and our friends in Gaza, and we do that with DAG Relief. We try to avoid the cuts from the people who charge a percentage for cash by paying the merchants directly and not putting the strain on people to, for example, if you send $500 to an individual in Gaza, what happens is that 50% or so goes as fees. Instead of doing that, we pay the merchant directly to their account, and that makes us avoid this additional cost. It is not an ideal solution. The ideal solution is to end the siege, is to end the Israeli attacks that are continuous, dismantle Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and allow the international aid organization to get in who obey international law of neutrality, independence, humanity, and impartiality. None of these rules are followed in the current model that is being imposed on Gaza, and that is by design. It's not an accident.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, as Iyad mentioned, thank you for being alert to this, for this very important analysis, Iyad. I mean, it seems that every day we are realizing that Israeli regime is the most evil regime that existed actually before, because it seems they are learning from all the evilness and the criminality of all regimes that happened before, from the Nazis, from the apartheid, and they're combining all the crimes. The only place in the world where you see a genocide, ethnic cleansing, apartheid, occupation, AI, the most lethal weapons in the world, in one place being deployed, and they are adding even more, more evilness, more criminality on top of all of this, and with the support of major powers in the world is Israel. It's just exceeded anything we even imagine. Even in other genocides, the genocide was carried by primitive weapons, less scale of destruction, less ability to kill as many lives as possible. In South Africa, there was apartheid, but there was no genocide. I mean, but to have one place, one criminal regime, to combine all the crimes that history has ever seen, all in one, and add all the technology and the AI and the most lethal weapons in the world on top of that, and to do this at an industrial scale that is live streamed to the whole world, telling everyone in the world that yes, we are doing it. We are showing it to you, and we don't care, is Israel. It's really a threat to humanity, to human peace, not just to Palestinians or to the region. Now we go with our friend is Lulu. He's a sixth-year medical student. He's in Gaza to share with us also more updates on his take on the situation in Gaza and also on what he has been doing, his efforts to try to support his people and his colleagues, the medical students in Gaza. So, أهلا وسهلا, تفضل.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. My voice is audible.
Yes, very
Yes.
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Nidal. And thank you, the team of Dr. Again Genocide and all of you attending today. Actually, your support and your partnership mean so much to us in Gaza. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, together we are turning pain into action and building hope.
talk
I,
about it, please. We did not tell
yeah,
people about it yet, so it's all yours. You explain the whole situation.
inshallah. And maybe just and currently situation here in Gaza. Actually, life in Gaza became almost impossible. Every morning, actually, I walk 3 to 4 kilometers to reach the hospital. There are no buses, no taxis, no cars. Transport is gone. When I arrive, actually, my t-shirt completely wet, as if I had like been swimming, because the heel is so strong. On the road, I look for something to eat, but I find nothing. Yes, some food entered Gaza, but the prices are very high. Flour, rice, sugar, all are sold in the markets, but nothing is free. Most families now have no income, so they cannot buy even bread. Until today, no big organization gave free food parcels to the people. Everything is for sale and with very high expensive. This actually is a disaster. And uh, recently, after the killing of journalist Anas al-Sharif, the situation became even worse. Anas was not like only a reporter, he was our voice. On the night he was killed, Israel did not only assassinate one man, they destroyed almost the whole Al Jazeera team to stop the truth. I remember that night well. Within 3 minutes of his death, the attacks became heavier by air and by ground. It was like the start of the invasion. And actually, I really remember this type of or this approach for the bombardment when I was besieged at the Shifa hospital. The occupation forces, when would like to like invade area, they like fill their bombardment by air and by ground. And now, without Anas and without a lot of journalists who was killed by the occupation forces, Gaza may now be killed in silence.
Wow.
Uh, the occupation is now less than 1 kilometer from where I am based. Every message tell us to evacuate to the south and to live in tents. But I promised my father to stay in Gaza city. If but actually, if the tents come closer, maybe I will have to flee. But my heart does not want to leave actually. And what does it mean to live in a tent? Now, most people in Gaza live in tents. Thousands of people under thin cloth, with no clean water, no food, and no electricity. In this hot summer, the tents feel like fire. Inside, the air is heavy and children cry from thirst. Parents cannot give even one glass of cold water. People are living like this every day. It's not life. It's a slow death. At the same time, the health system has collapsed. Yesterday, I tried to buy medicine for hypertension, for high blood pressure, for the mother of a martyr. It was captopril. It's AC inhibitor. The price was $100 for one pill strip. Before the war, the same medicine cost only 7 shekels, like less than $2. And even at this price, it was scarce, almost impossible to find. Imagine a health system where basic blood pressure pills are rare than gold. That is what it means to be sick in Gaza today. This is a reality I live in as a medical student, as a son, and as a survivor. And let me now talking about the Samir Foundation. This foundation, maybe some of you hear about it. This foundation was born from my personal story. I created in memory of my father, Mr. Samir, and the 20 female family members I lost under the rubble. Until now, they are still my father, my brother, and my uncles and my relatives. They are still under the rubble. And I created this foundation from pain. We build purpose from loss. I'm trying to create a hope. Today, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. And yeah, today, Samir Foundation has grown to become the largest medical organization in Gaza. Alhamdulillah, is only 1 year. We achieved many things. We renovated the teaching halls so students could return to study. We built a medical hub, the first medical hub in Gaza, where hundreds of students now find a safe place with light, with electricity, with internet to learn. We supported hundreds of doctors and medical students with tuition sponsorships, stipends, and training programs. The impact was so clear that even the dean and the president of university called me personally and said, "You have brought medical education back to life in Gaza." So, Alhamdulillah, this is the trust we carried with great responsibility. Samir Foundation is not only local, we are now connected with the world. We have launched the ambassador program, and now we have more than 347 ambassadors from 47 countries. Medical students and doctors from across the global are now standing with Gaza students, sharing knowledge, monitoring, and يعني, use and presented our foundation in their countries. And today, I'm honored to announce a new collaboration between Samir Foundation and Doctors Against Genocide. Together, we will build many projects to support the doctors and medical students who are the backbone of Gaza's health system. The first project, which we must begin immediately, is the Food Baskets Project. Right now, medical students are not only studying under bombs, they are also starving. They are the future doctors who will rebuild Gaza's healthcare system. So, if they collapse from hunger today, who will stand tomorrow to heal our people? This project will provide food baskets for more than 500 medical students and their families. It's not just a food, it's a survival and it's a dignity. It's giving them the strength to continue their studies under the bombardment and their services to Gaza. Alhamdulillah, with Dr. Nidal and the Doctors Against Genocide, a donation link is already available to support this project.
We just shared it, yes, and it's
Yeah,
the whole team of Doctors Against Genocide. Actually, they're the one who are more enthusiastic, instrumental about supporting this than me. So thank
thank
you.
thank
تفضل
you.
كمل.
And actually, I invite you all to donate today before prices rise even higher or before food actually disappears completely from the market. Every basket you give is a lifeline. And of course, Sami Foundation has its own channels for support, and we welcome you to join our initiative, share our story, and help us grow. Finally, Alhamdulillah, what started as one student's promise to his father has now become a movement for medical education and survival in Gaza, with partners like Doctors Against Genocide, and with your support, inshallah, we will not only survive, but we will rebuild the healthcare system in Gaza. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Iz. Thank you, Iz. So, Allah yarham al-walid wal-ahl.
Amin.
And
Yeah.
thank you for being such a great son, honoring your father and honoring your humanity and honoring your school and your colleagues. Thank you for all the great work that you've been doing in the last 2 years, despite all the heartache that you went through. I mean, if it was me, I would just have given up and not done anything if I went through the same situation. So I'm really beyond, it's beyond words, it's beyond impressive. But as you said, if you did all the work, and if all what we need to do is just to support you, then we are all in. And as a promise from Doctors Against Genocide, the medical students are ours, and we're willing to support you until freedom and liberation and justice, and until every medical school in Gaza is rebuilt by the money of the perpetrators and the criminals who destroyed them, and until every survivor of this genocide in Gaza got all their reparations from the criminal entities, whether in Israel or the United States or the complicit Western countries supporting this. So yes, if DAG is a medical organization, and it's just so fitting, it's just the normal place for us to be the first organization to support the medical education, the medical students, support them with maybe food and aid now, as you said, to survive because they are starving like anyone else and their families. But also we want to support the educational program, the social system. We want to support those students, strong students, brave students like you are, who are not giving up. And because you're not giving up, then we're not going to give up on you. And this is a promise from all of us, from our colleagues, that we're going to do everything in our capacity to help the people in Gaza survive, to help the student keep and continue their education, and teach the world what it really means to be a human being, to be a medical student, to be a doctor, to be a healthcare worker, because it seems that the world needs a lot of that education. Being complicit and silent on a genocide, especially from the medical community, the major medical associations in the West, in the United States, in Europe, means they have lost it, and they need to be re-educated by people like Iz and his colleagues and everyone in Gaza. And it's our promise that we're going to help you with this mission, inshallah. Karama, tfaddali, if you have any comments. Again, we have the please, we just as said, we started this partnership with Samir Foundation, and we're taking it seriously. We just shared the donation link for this partnership to support Ez and his colleagues. And please be generous with them. They deserve it. This is the least we can do, along with stronger advocacy to stop this genocide. تفضل كرام.
شكرا نضال يعني شكرا يا عز والله يرحم الأهل. Just for people to know, Az's family has been buried under the rubble, and he hasn't been able to bury his family members, including his father. And he always talks about how he wants to go back to actually to his home to be able to bury his loved ones. So as you are very composed, you are very professional, you carry yourself with maturity and with bravery. ما شاء الله عنك. الله يخليك لأهلك.
آمين آمين يا رب. شكرا كتير.
Thank you.
Just a quick update where, our community is very generous. We raised 37.50 so far, just as soon as we announced the link. So thank you for your support and solidarity, and we will continue to promote this campaign.
Yeah, we're hoping to be able to send
Just
enough for 200 students, right, Ez? That's what we said?
Total
what?
450.
450.
400.
How much do we need in total?
Immediately, we need 20,000 immediately, then
20,000.
more after the
And maybe just like a quick just maybe some of people like asked do medical students in Gaza still study during the war, even with collapse of all healthcare system and destroyed all of the faculty of medicine in Gaza? Actually, yes, despite the ongoing war, medical education in Gaza has not stopped. For over a year, medical students at three main universities, Islamic University, Al-Azhar University, and Al Isra, have returned to lectures and resumed clinical training in hospitals. First gradually, then regularly. The Samir Foundation actually has played the critical role in enabling this continuity by a lot of the initiative and projects. And even on even I'm finished my fifth year in going the Genocide, and now I will graduate also under the siege So we are returning some of the students study in their homes or in their tents with just on model, and the clinical students, they are studying now in hospitals in some of like corner, on some of like يعني take their lectures while they are standing.
Thank
that's
you. Shukran. Munder, is Munder here?
I think he left, but if he comes back, we will have. That's the problem with the connections in Gaza. And Gaza is under bombardment, so that's the problem.
دكتور نضال دكتور نضال
تفضل.
في ممكن يعني thank you عز for your initiatives and الله يعينك يعني ربنا يقويك حالنا حال كل الناس إن شاء الله لكن احنا
جميعا
we
يا
will
رب.
we will not give up إن شاء الله we will continue. That's great from you. Maybe we have to cooperate with the Kuwaiti Red Crescent. I know them very well. They have a big project from the beginning of the war. They support medical students out and in the Gaza, and they paid for their studies. And I know a lot of our students get the support from the Kuwaiti. And maybe if Dr. Nadal agree with me and my colleagues, we can do cooperation with them by your connections directly with them. So it will easy our project and support is with more funds to complete your targets, inshallah.
Guys, just for clarification, Iyad is the most resourceful human being I've ever known. He knows everyone. He has a solution for everything, despite all the difficulties. So, Iyad, inshallah, we're gonna add you to the group with us and work on this, and yes, make this collaboration and try to help them as much as we can. And if you as students are doing all this just to be able to continue your education under all these impossible circumstances, then it is the least we can do as adults, as your seniors, as attendees, and the grown-up doctors. The least we can do is to support you. So consider DAG your second home, and please do not hesitate to ask us for anything that we can do. And if we cannot do, we will make it happen. Even if we cannot, there is nothing is impossible if we, the people, all of us, have the right intentions and the determination, and knowing how dangerous and how cruel our enemy is, the enemy of humanity, means that we need to be stronger every day. And the worse their crimes get, the stronger we should fight back, not give up. Is a model of resilience, determination, and we are learning from you, Iz. Thank you. And from you, Iyad. And thank you, Iyad. Iyad, I've known Iyad for a few months, and I've never asked Iyad one question that he said I cannot do, or I have no answer, or we cannot. Even if he doesn't know, he will find a way. So thank you, Iyad, for being with us.
ثانك يو دكتور نضال. يعني والله صحيح انا وصلت جبل نابلس هيك يعني. I arrived Nablus mountain.
جبل النار.
But what I want to say one comment is when you spoke about Anas Sharif and how the assassination of Anas Sharif with the rest of the journalists with him kind of coincided with the start of increasing violence and increasing bombardment on the city of Gaza. This happened with Shireen Abu Akleh. When Shireen Abu Akleh was assassinated in Jenin, that was right before the Israeli settlers started escalating attacks on Palestinian cities, especially Jenin, Tulkarem, and Nablus, Huwara. And it is nothing that happens that is done by Israel is random. It is all part of a vision for subjugation and exploitation of the Palestinian people, whether it's in the West Bank, whether it's in Gaza, anywhere. So it's journalism is the first witness to genocide, and they are a threat. And along with the medical staff, if you want to destroy a population, you get rid of the journalist and then you attack healthcare.
And an update on the fundraiser campaign for Iz and his colleagues, the medical students. We already have $11,000 in less than 10 minutes. So we are proud of our supporters and our colleagues. You are generous, and we thank you. We appreciate you. And one thing about Gaza and about the Palestinians is they never forget the kind hands that stand with them in the time of need. So, okay, thank you. Do you want to say anything else, Riyadh? Because we have more guests from Gaza. I think some of them are having connection problems. We'll go back to them once if they are able to come back. But we're gonna move on and talk to our guests here from the United States and other places. Any other comments before we move?
No, let's move.
Okay, let's move. مع حبيب الشعب نجيب الزعبي. Dr. Najeeb is our friend. He's our colleague. We graduated from the same medical school. He's a pediatric gastroenterologist, and we thought he will be the best to talk about the situation of children going through starvation, the effect of starvation on children, and the little bit more discussion about the refeeding syndrome, children who are being starved, deliberately starved by the illegal regime of Israel and the anti-human US administration, their attack on childhood. So we want, as a medical community, to shed more light about the suffering of the children and what we can do to combat it, to minimize it. So Dr. Najeeb Zoubi, أهلا وسهلا. تفضل. All yours. You are muted,
You're
Najeeb.
muted, Najeeb.
We know you don't care, but we want to hear you. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nadal. It is really very upsetting to discuss medical treatment for starvation when the problem is really political. There is nothing that better than prevention, and this could have easily been prevented. But thank you, Iyad and Iz, for showing us the situation in Gaza, and that this is all deliberate chaos, deliberate starvation. Very, very sad to talk about this, but we have to deal with the situation on the ground. So starvation. I'm not going to talk much about the effects of starvation on kids during war, because the biggest effect is the psychological problems that we are all dealing with the war situation and with the genocide. But the medical part of it that needs to be addressed. I want to talk about whenever we see starving people, then our first instinct is to go help them as much as we can and give them food as fast as we can to reverse the effects of starvation. Unfortunately, and this was found even in the 1940s during the World War II, that if you do that too fast, then you're causing more problems with what's called the refeeding syndrome. So refeeding syndrome means that you have been living in a situation where you have starvation, your insulin levels are very low, and then all of a sudden you start getting more food, especially carbohydrates, and then the insulin will spike. Once you get that spike of insulin, and your body now wants to make more energy, so it will start shifting the ADP to ATP for energy. You start losing electrolytes to go into the intracellular space. So it causes severe hypophosphatemia, hypokalemia, and hypomagnesemia. And when people get that, the effects that you see is severe weakness that can result in respiratory failure. You can get heart failure, you can get seizures, lethargy, weakness, arrhythmias, and the results can be devastating, even up to death. So because of that, I think awareness is very important, that when we start feeding the starving population, that we have to do it in a very slow manner. And unfortunately, throughout history, we have dealt with many starvation situations, that now there are currently WHO guidelines about how to deal with these starvation situation, and how to refeed the patients without without having to go through the refeeding syndrome. So I sent Dr. Nadal a document that if our colleagues in Gaza want to look at, about how to use it, and the resources are the literature is available online. I'm just going to give a brief introduction on what usually is done in these kinds of situations. So in a situation where we are, like here I practice in the United States, so we see kids with starvation that come in as malnutrition because of chronic disease usually, or very poor social situation. And then those kids, we have the luxury of admitting them to the hospital, getting evaluating them, getting blood work and labs on them, and see what their electrolyte status is, start giving them feeds and check their electrolytes after that, and see how they respond, and if there is any evidence of hypophosphatemia or hypokalemia, hypomagnesemia, then we give them the supplements, and they stay for a week maybe in the hospital, and we can rehabilitate them and send them home without any problems. But sometimes you do not have those resources where you can get labs even. So the way that the protocols by the WHO, they require us to stratify the patients into mild, moderate, or severe malnutrition. I think the situation in Gaza because we don't have labs, we'll consider everyone as severe malnutrition and try to give them the foods that way. So the younger the kids, the more monitoring they need. The guidelines are put like what you would do for kids less than 6 months of age, what we would do for kids 6 months to 5 years of age, and then over 5 years of age. I think all the guidelines to what to do with less than 6 months of age is to admit them, which might not be something that can be done, and therefore the recommendations, if you cannot do that, then focus more and more on breastfeeding as much as you can. So from 6 months to 5 years of age, there are new things that I learned actually just from this experience, because it's we're in a resource limited kind of situation in Gaza, are some formulas that are that we can get from UNICEF, but they're also available commercially, where if you get the kid first, you evaluate whether they're dehydrated or not, even before dealing with the nutrition part, and then giving them the oral rehydration solution. Then after that, if you advance slowly to formulas that have low calorie but with electrolytes, there's a formula called F75. And that means 75 calories per 100 ml. Then if they're doing okay, then you advance to F100. And then there is something which is the mainstay of treatment of severe malnutrition in starvation areas, is what's called RUTF, ready to use therapeutic food. The advantage of the RUTF is that it comes in small packets, but they are very high calorie, 500 calories, that has already these electrolytes that are implicated in the refeeding syndrome added to them, in addition to vitamins. And those have very long shelf life that I think that we can use in cases of severe malnutrition, because after we stabilize the patient with the oral rehydration solution and the other formulas which can easily be made actually, then using the RUTF will be something that will restore the nutrition very fast. And then we can go from so typically for the people that don't deal with kids, we always calculate the calories per kilogram. So an infant, the first 10 kilos, they will need 100 kilocalories per kilogram, and then 50 for 10 to 20 kilograms, basically close to 100 calories per kilogram. So when we start with them, we start at 10%, just 10 calories per kilogram per day. And then you advance, and once they're able to tolerate the food, then this RUTF, you can increase it to 150 to 200 calories per kilogram per day, and go from there. Of course, while watching for signs of the refeeding slowing down as needed. Most of the starved kids will need a course of antibiotic in the beginning, just because they have some other comorbidities. So it's typical to give the food with a week of antibiotic and go from there. This is I meant for this just to be a quick introduction to what you would do in a resource limited malnutrition, severe malnutrition situation. The guidelines are available, and I sent, as I said, I sent the document to Dr. Nadal, but if anyone has any questions or inquiries, please, you can reach out to me. But I think probably the idea of the RUTF will be something that might be very helpful in these situations.
Thank you, Najeeb. Yeah, this is very important. I'll share the documents with people soon when they need them or they ask for them too.
And
The
Najeeb,
RUTF,
if you send it to me, I can put it in the chat also.
yeah. The RUTF, I wish Iyad was still here with us. I don't know if the NGOs are able to get it, or if some of them are already getting it in or not. I'm not aware of this.
So UNICEF supplies it, but there are other commercial.
Yes.
You can buy it commercially as well, and they have trade names and other stuff. It's basically peanuts combined with vegetable oil and made in a way that is not perishable. So that's the idea of it, and it's all in that document, Dr. Nadar.
Yeah.
Jihan is with us. Jihan, do you know if this is something that's available in Gaza? You're muted, Jihan. Just unmute yourself. Jihan is with us from Hayat, Washington, and we partner with her organization on the ground in Gaza in Tal El Hawa, where we have a kitchen that provides food. And to your point, Dr. Najeeb, in Gaza, the preferred food is actually shorabat adas, which is lentils soup. And what we heard from Gaza is that people prefer to have it liquidy so that they can drink the liquid and then they leave the adas, the lentils, that's hard. They dry it and they make high protein bread. So instinctively, they know that high protein food and not in large amounts is the way to go because if you drink the liquid soup, lentil soup is different than from eating the dense lentils themselves. And every soup kitchen or every kitchen that we're working with says the same thing. Lentils, lentils, lentils. They want the high protein diet because instinctively and scientifically we know that this is much better than bread or rice. And
Yes.
I think people is different. Some people, few they prefer bread. Bread is essential. Even when I remember the bread, it was the flour very high, the price. And our colleague told me it's crazy. We should stop. I heard from my colleagues in Gaza, and I have cousins in Gaza. I told them to ask, make between people. No, bread is essential for them, special for children. They feel. They feel they are not hungry when they eat something liquid. They don't feel they are full. For example, we offer pasta. They like pasta. We offer eggplant, and they told me about the eggplant. Please don't put a lot of liquid. Even it's too. There is water. There is tomato paste. They said, we take the eggplant and we fry it after that. So put more eggplant. The new tequila, we put more eggplant. And people always ask for bread. And as the doctor said, yes, lentil, they prefer lentil, but I don't know because more protein. But they told me yes, they prefer lentil, and I told them, please give them variety, not every day lentil. So I suggest eggplant, but they told me when you bring eggplant, we prefer to put more eggplant, and the bread is very essential for them.
So this RUTF is the way that it's done is with peanuts. That's because that was available, I think, in the countries that were dealing with the starvation. But there are other formulas where they use flour or lentils, and they are available online as well. This is food. It's not liquid, so it's not formula. So that goes to show your point is very important, that they need to feel that they're eating something. So it's actually it's a paste that it comes in. So I think The other thing is that it's not only protein, you have to give them fat. And what's most important is the electrolyte mix that is added to it with the vitamins to prevent refeeding. But again, it all depends on the degree of the malnutrition.
Like Dr. Najeeb said, nutrition is very important and vitamins, but to feel full, we are not hungry. I think bread is important, and rice, as you mentioned, rice is very important, and rice. Good, you don't feel hungry. Also, it's give energy, carbohydrate. I got today from our colleague in Gaza, the journalist, about the situation. It's very dangerous, as Dr. Amawi mentioned about today. They threatened many districts in Gaza, neighborhood in Sijaiya, Zaytun, Tufah. They said to me that it's totally destroyed. Sijaiya with Zaytun, with Tufah, and they told me. My colleague, he was living in Shijaiya. He told me we feel, very anxious. We are we are very worried. We have a question where we will go, especially that they destroy Rafah. Totally, or 80% of Khan Yunis city. He said our colleague in Khan Yunis said there is no even place for one tent. So he is very worried. And our colleague in Gaza City in the north, he said, where will you go? Especially the negotiations, there is no any progress in the negotiations. It's failed. People feel, they are very worried, very scared. Where will go? It's almost in Gaza City, I think more than 800 population, around less than 1 million. This situation now, as Zais said, it's today, they bomb a lot of these neighborhoods. I don't know. There is a big question now. What the future? What will go? What will happen tomorrow? What will do next after that? People displaced from place to place. Where they go? You know that they destroyed Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia and Jabalia, and they are now in it's very busy. There is no place. They are now only in Hayy Rimal, Abu al-Hawa. What else? Sheikh Radwan in Nasser, the coast area. But
they're making it harder and harder every day, for sure. I mean, that's part of the project of extermination, genocide, annihilation, and eventually displacement. I mean, the goal is to kill as many people as they can, either through bombing or through weapons and through starvation and disease and illness. Then to leave the list so devastated that they have no other choice but to leave, and also to make Gaza, all of it, as uninhabitable as possible. From our colleagues who are reporting from Gaza, the only city in Gaza that is still partially habitable now is the Gaza city itself, because they destroyed the whole part of North Gaza completely. There is nothing there you can sustain life. Rafah is completely destroyed. About 2/3 of Khan Yunis are completely destroyed. Deir al-Balah is 50% destroyed. Gaza is about maybe 50%. So, I mean, we are left with only Gaza City, and it has almost 1 million people. And in the last few days, they have been intensifying their campaign of bombing, along with engineered and intentional starvation. That's why we have to sound the alarm more and more, try to help the people more, try to bring these crimes to the attention of the world, especially the people who don't know. Unfortunately, because of the mainstream media is complicit, there is still a lot of people in the world Either they don't know or they have the wrong facts and they're brainwashed to think that the victims are actually the aggressors, rather than know the real truth. But inshallah, with all of your help, we will manage and we will fix this and we will save the people before it's too late. It's already too late, but there are still a lot of survivors that need our help, and we cannot give up on them. Now, we want to move to another genocide, another place of disaster, unfortunately. We're going to go with Dr. Shaza. Dr. Shaza Al-Mahdi, she's a Sudanese doctor. She is the Sudan Country Director of the Center of International Private Enterprise. She has 19 years experience in international development with strong focus on feminism, gender equality, and human rights. Shada, I'll give you the
Thank you.
to present, talk about yourself, about your work, how we can be of your help. Teach us more about what's happening in Sudan. It seems that there is so much going on in the world, especially in these areas,
Right.
that there is a room for all of us to learn more, especially from the people who know their situation best. We don't want to learn about Sudan from Fox News or from CNN. We want to learn about it from Sudanese people. I don't want to learn about Congo from Elon Musk. I want the Congolese people to tell me what's happening, because their truth is what matters, and it is the real truth versus the biased and the wrong and falsified truth of the Western colonialist take on our people and our problems. So, Dr. Shazad, tfaddali.
Thank you, Dr. Nidal, and thank you for DAG, and I really appreciate all the efforts that all of you are doing. And this platform, I appreciate the large number of people. I can't remember when was the last time I was speaking before such a large number. It was so inspiring to listen to Lulu and also to listen to Dr. Najeeb. Actually, when Dr. Najeeb was talking, I just recalled a big crisis that was happening in Jabal Awliya, which is the place where I was living most of my life in Khartoum. After, in the last few months, they had discovered that a school full of prisoners that were detained by RSF and were forced to not having access to food and water. And they were in a bad situation. Images and videos were coming out. And because Sudanese people are just known of being very, very kind, and they jumped into supporting them and giving them food because they thought this is the best thing they can do. Unfortunately, so many of them were going through critical conditions. So many of them have died already because of the refeeding syndrome that Dr. Najeeb was talking about. What I thought would be really useful is to have this kind of information, not only for the medical doctors, because in a situation of active conflict, you barely find health workers, but for the public who jump to support those who got released. And I think making those information in a very simplified way so that they can be circulated among the public citizens would be more useful in situations like Sudan. And I'm probably going to reach out to you, Dr. Najeeb, separately. I'm a co-founder of the Sudanese American Physician Association as well, SAPA, and SAPA has been doing a lot of work on the ground to support the Sudanese people. What I found really interesting also is the similarities between what's happening in Gaza and Sudan, not only in how massive the crisis on the ground is, but also in terms of the words that we use at Takaya to describe how the Sudanese people jump into establishing local kitchens to feed those who are starving. I found it a little sad, and it's not little, it's really sad that the perpetrators in this case are the Sudanese people attacking and killing other Sudanese people, which is a big contrast when it comes to comparing this to the crisis in Gaza. It's one of our very unfortunate realities in Sudan, that in most of the times, most of the guns were raised to kill Sudanese people were actually raised by Sudanese people as well. Back to the famine and starvation, which is the subject of this webinar. I also found it challenging. I'm someone with public health background, human rights, and medical as well. I found it challenging for me sometimes to look at how international community wait to declare famine in a country. they got all those measures, talking about the number of deaths per 10,000, the crude death rate, or talking about the number of malnutrition among children under 5, and everything around that. And when you go to a city like Al-Fashir, which is the capital of Darfur, it has been encircled by RSF for the last, I'd say, 9 months or so, and you see people eating leaves and eating the animal food and can't even walk, and they're going through massive stakes of hunger and starvation. You wonder why famine is not declared. And then you realize the fact that declaring famine is a political act. It does get blocked by, most of the time, by actors who thinks it might be embarrassing, who thinks it might be not yet, who think the numbers are not matching the high bar that they set. And even when you go to the literature and ask why we have that high bar either, why you need two to die every 10,000, why you need 30% of the kids to go through malnutrition before you declare famine. Let us ask the question, why you need to declare famine? You need to declare famine because you move fund, you move resources, and you call urgently to support those people. But then why you make that standard very high? Most of the time because the fund that is attached to that call. And when there is no fund, like the situation we're in right now, you ask the question, why is it still high? Even when you declare famine, you can't even find the fund that you need, because guess what? USAID is gone, the international community is kind of emptying their pockets. They dispersing the fund to support buying more weapons. Look at all the Western countries that are now supported by right-wing governments and shifting funding. Look at all of them. I've been going around the world and checking the budget for all of them. So the humanitarian aid funding is decreasing. Having that said, the bar for declaring famine is not lowered. If it's attached to that fund, to that actions, it's not lowered. Then I think it should be revisited by those technical experts who are sitting at the top of people and putting the guidelines and standards. This is just to avoid the situation that we're in Sudan right now. And also we don't have access to collect data. We don't have access to even verify this information and measure that they need to declare famine in Sudan. With restricted access to international organizations who can actually, or even local organizations who can actually work on collecting data to verify that on the ground there is famine or not. And I was in Khartoum until the war started with my 3 kids, and I witnessed everything that was happening at the beginning. I was lucky to leave the country. I was very privileged. I had the money to buy, I had my passport and whatever, and I left the country. But guess what? Most of those who are trapped in Sudan, they are not privileged enough. And most of those who might be able to move, they move from a place that is under direct shooting, leaving everything behind, to a place that is relatively safer, but there is no food, there is no money, there are no jobs. They lost, the unemployment is horrible. The inflation rate is the worst in the history of Sudan. When I left Sudan at the beginning of the war, the exchange rate was at 500 USD to Sudanese pound. As I'm talking to you, it's almost 3,000. Well, the 3,000 were 3 million, but of course the government, because of the inflation, they took a couple of zeros to make it less horrible. So 3,000 for each $1, 3,000 Sudanese pound for each $1. It's a crazy situation in there. People are dying every day. They can't even walk. Families find themselves in the face of the question, which child to feed and which child to leave without feeding, because the food is very little, and especially in Darfur. And we are at the face of all these things that are happening without even having enough attention to the crisis in Sudan. I spoke to certain panels before, and I found that I did some kind of comparison between the Syria when the war happened and Ukraine when the war happened, and Gaza and Sudan. And I just found that Sudan is the very least countries to respond to and to attract more attentions. And this is politics. This is politics related to the question, how important is Sudan to the world? How much politics is involved so that the case of Sudan can be heard and flagged and attract more attentions? Sometimes I feel we as Sudanese, maybe we need to reframe the crisis. Let us connect it to the Horn of Africa. Let us tell them if the security situation in Sudan is getting more worse, we might be in a situation where we drag the entire Horn of Africa, which is a very fragile area, into a whole of disasters, one by another. Look at Ethiopia, look at Eritrea, look at Somalia, look at Yemen, look at everywhere. We had conflicts somewhere. Look at Central African Republic, which all these countries we share borders with. So if Sudan collapsed completely, it's not going to be collapsing alone. They will be dragging other countries that are surrounding Sudan into this big hole of humanitarian disasters, once by another. Just to jump into the point that I wanted to raise from the beginning, I'm someone who worked with women for a long time. This is one of the reasons why I actually shifted my career from being a medical doctor to someone who works on the human rights and democracy field for the last 10 years. We had a disaster back in the days in 2003 when we had Darfur crisis, and I'm sure some of you might remember what was happening in 2003 up to 2005. We had the crisis before between Sudan and Southern Sudan, and Southern Sudan has gone with their independence to their own crisis. It's not I joke with my friends and I say that instead of having one big failing state, we have two failing states, because there's also famine in South Sudan and crisis of governance in South Sudan as well. But thinking about how women have been impacted by the current conflict of Sudan just makes me feel the same pain that I felt back in the days when I was a medical student at the University of Khartoum, working with rape survivors. The problem is that the very same rape survivors are committing rape again 15 years later or 20 years later, because there was no such a mechanism of accountability at all. Think about all mechanism of accountability. We took the Sudan's case to the highest one at that time, which was the ICC. And as I'm talking to you, al-Bashir, who was indicted by ICC, is living happily in northern Sudan among his family. He was the former president of Sudan, and he was indicted in 2009 by the ICC court. So there is something wrong with the international mechanism of accountability, to a point where the very person who committed rape at a certain point 15 years ago, he might come back and commit many cases of rape during the current conflict. And I'm referring to the RSF, the militia, who were involved in the Darfur crisis, and now they are involved in the conflict in Sudan, and they committed so many crises. And these are documented. And I don't think they feel ashamed or afraid. I've seen videos of sexual violence circulated. They go and document by themselves. When we activists complain about documenting and verify, no, there are even the perpetrators, they feel comfortable enough to circulate those videos online. Women are paying the biggest bill of this war, a war that was largely made by men. Those who are fighting are two militias. You won't find women among them. Most of them are men. And the decision to carry this war and to continue is because women actually are not on the decision-making process of any parties, of the two fighting parties. So what we see right now is that this war is going to be continuing. I don't know until when, probably until a big stick from the international community get directed, or a big maybe incentives get directed towards the fighting parties. The number of those who get raped is not declared. Nobody knows how many women get raped. You only hear the stories of 36 women get raped, gang raped, while they were fleeing an active shooting from a small village in Darfur to another village. You hear about a woman being enslaved for being captive for 30 days and with the RSF people to cook for them, to use her for sex, and then release her in a miserable situation. And those are not my stories. Those are stories documented by the fact-finding mission that was sent by the Office of the Human Rights Council. And it's been released as part of their report as well. So yes, we do have enough evidences. We do have enough stories. We do have enough evidences for the big call, for urgent call to support the Sudanese people and Sudanese women as well. There is little response on that. The big response I think everyone is calling for is to stop the war completely and to arrange some sort of conflict resolution. Speaking to a number of doctors in this platform, we do have big issues regarding very basic kind of skills and training and access to tools, especially technology tools, to figure out how to deal with the different crisis levels in Sudan. We try to support in many ways as part of different Sudanese medical organizations, but I think the solidarity has to be, the solidarity kind of soul or spirit has to be wider. And let us just keep thinking about those who are on the ground in Sudan who don't even have internet, because big part of them are under huge blackout. If you don't have Starlinks, by the way, you might not even have access to the internet in Sudan. And those who are selling the Starlinks are the RSF militias, because whatever happened, they found access to huge number of Starlinks, and they charge people by hour, large number of money. So they're benefiting from the war. They're benefiting, even they're making business out of it. And this is what we call it, the war economy. And it's hard to face. Everything is turning to be a war economy at a certain point. It's not just buying bullets. It's not just blocking aid to sell in the black market, the very essential commodities. It's also selling internet when you enforce internet blackout. I'll stop here, but I would be more than happy to answer any question that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shaza. This was sobering, and it's just a call for us in the medical community to learn about Sudan, speak up. And I know that there is a lot of silencing on Sudan. Actually, we submitted a paper on Sudan, Dr. Jbour and myself and a few students, and multiple journalists would turn it down. And it was a medical paper on starvation and the effects on children. So there is a lot of silencing. A lot of people are asking how can they learn more about Sudan and how can they support the Sudanese people. So if you can post your website or a donation link for Sudan, that would be very helpful, because we definitely want to be with you in this struggle. We in Doctors Against Genocide really like to hear from the source. So we appreciate having you speak for your own people, because you have a much better understanding than any other expert who does not know the country but probably has data that can recite. So hearing from the source definitely is our most preferred way. And let's stay in touch, please. We want to continue to work with you, Shaga. And if you put the links in the chat, we can put them for. Before I go, we raised almost $15,000 for Iz Foundation, which is great. If we can top it to 20,000 today, this would be amazing. So we can send a check right away.
Just I'm sitting on the board for Centerlink, which is a local Sudanese organization that work with women. I think they are the one who probably would appreciate any donations. I will be getting in touch with them online just to get a link for that organizations. I work for international organizations, and it might not be the most appropriate platform to receive donation, but definitely the local organization would be the most in need, and probably they will figure out how to use it in a much better way, supporting Sudanese women on the ground. Thank you.
Amazing. That would be really good, because support people on the ground is how we like to do it, especially when we know them personally.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Shada. And yes, we are in favor of supporting local organizations and local groups, because we know the international organizations, with all their bureaucracy and sometimes corruption stuff, not all of the money gets into the people who need it. Most of it goes into high salaries for international experts, what they call themselves. And please, Shada, once you get those links, check back with us, and we want to hear more from you. We want to learn more about the Sudan, get those donation links so we can support them. And what Shada mentioned, something that's got my attention, is that the perpetrators themselves are taking videos of themselves, the audacity that they have, that actually they have the audacity to report these crimes themselves. They don't even care. This is a sign of the impunity that the perpetrators are having everywhere, whether in Sudan or in Congo or in Gaza. We see many Israeli soldiers are actually killing children, killing innocent people, destroying hospitals, and taking videos of themselves, because they know they can get away with it. They got used to it. The impunity that the international system is giving to the perpetrators of genocide in Congo, in Sudan, in Palestine is what's keeping these crimes going. If these people, these are cowards. These are not real brave people. They are not proud people. But they just got used to impunity and they know they can get away with it. That's why they don't care. But if they know they are gonna get, held accountable for these crimes, again, every Israeli soldier is a coward. Every rapist in Sudan, RSF forces is a coward. Everyone killing children is a coward. He's not brave. It's just because they're sick, they're psychopaths. They got used to impunity. That's why they have the audacity, the complete disregard for life, for humanity, that they think they can do it, they can videotape themselves, and that they can get away and they don't care about anyone. It is time for us, the good people, the people of good conscience all over the world, whatever our color is, whatever our nationality, our religion, is to stop them and hold them accountable. So no piece of shit like the Israeli soldiers or the rapists in Sudan or the perpetrators in Congo can continue to do this. So thank you, Dr. Shaza. Please stay in touch. We're going to have you more and going to hear more about your people and find ways to support. Now I want to go, unfortunately, to the other crime scene, which is Congo. Thank you, our colleagues. Thank you for waiting. I know you've been very patient, so we really appreciate that. Dr. Farhad, are you there? Dr. Farhad?
Yes, let me just turn
Dr.
on my
Farhad.
just let me turn on my camera here.
Yes,
Yes,
Dr. Farhad is here with us. He's our colleague, and we have our colleagues from Congo, Claude, and Kambali. So please, Dr. Farhad, if you want to introduce them, and we want to hear as much as we can about Congo because it's also another crime scene, another atrocity that needs attention, that needs more people in the world to learn about it, and they need our help. Those victims in Congo, in Sudan, in Palestine, they need our help. Thank you.
Dr. Nidal, I just want to remind people before that we have Mr. Kambale, our featured speaker today, our human rights activist from Congo, that he will be introduced by Claude, our friend from and genocide survivor from Rwanda.
Claude is famous.
Yes, famous, the author of Survivors Uncensored, 100 plus testimonies, and he's also executive director and co-founder of African Great Lakes Action Network, and he's doing a tremendous work in raising awareness about that region. He's going to be the gentleman that's going to be introducing our speaker for today. So I'd like to invite Claude to do the introduction, and also thank you in advance to Mr. Kambale Musavuli, originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I hand this over to Claude. Claude, if you could please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farhad. Thank you, Doug, and Dr. Nidal, and the other speakers, prior speakers, Dr. Najeeb, Dr. Shaza, and the others. I apologize if I'm missing your name because I'm just speaking from memory. It is a great honor. I don't want to take too long because I've already spent some time with you guys and shared my story and my work with you guys. I know that I owe you some links, to support some of the efforts. There are some that I'm thinking about that would be most relevant in this forum that I'll be sharing in the coming days. But in the meantime, one of the things that we had agreed on was for me to also, my call to action was to pay attention to the Congo, even though I was speaking about the Rwandan genocide, and wanted to start making the connections with Congolese survivors and advocates and people who are telling the story from the ground. You're hearing the stories from the people who are directly affected, similar to what we heard here. And the theme is the same. I mean, I'm hearing things like starvation, displacement, dragging in other countries into these conflicts, the effects on women, starlinks, bombings, silencing the voices, especially impunity. And those are all things that are right there in the Congo. And these are things that are happening. These are things that we are connected to, but are unaware of because of the silencing of voices. I believe it was, sorry, I'm not sure if it was Dania that said that you submitted a paper and it was declined by members of the media. But this is a common thing. Impunity relies on silence. Impunity relies on silencing voices. Impunity relies on gatekeeping the narrative from the people directly affected. And impunity relies on propaganda to protect the perpetrators. And starvation is not a word that we should be hearing about in a place like Congo, a place that is so rich, not only in minerals, with $24 trillion worth of minerals, but a place that can not only power the whole continent of Africa, but can actually feed the whole continent with its natural resources and arable land. This is not a place where we should be hearing about starvation. And so without taking too much time here, it is a great honor to introduce my brother, my comrade, also my mentor. You guys, you're saying I'm famous, but I would say that Kambale has a lot to do with my story being famous, because as part of Friends of the Congo, but also as someone who's really invested in advocating for voices that are silenced, he has been tremendous in opening so many doors to have much of the media coverage to cover the advocacy work that we've done. So in the spirit of sharing resources, that's another thing that I committed to, is making connections, with DAG to members of the media, regardless of whether, how they're telling the story, but at least making you guys' voices who are here and getting the first-hand information, being the people who are driving the narrative. So I think Kambale will also be a really, really great partner in something like that. And so without further ado, let me just do the formal introduction and hand it to Kambale. Kambale Mustafuli is originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, a human rights advocate, a writer, and a Pan-Africanist who has spent more than 2 decades raising awareness about the ongoing genocide in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Widely recognized as a leading voice on issues of justice, peace, and sovereignty in Africa, he has organized campaigns, testified before policymakers, and spoken globally on the human and environmental toll of conflict. He currently serves as managing director for Aether Strategies, a Pan-African advisory firm, where he works with governments and institutions in both Congo and Ghana on questions of policy, digital sovereignty, and sustainable development. His writings and lectures connect the struggles against genocide and resource exploitation with broader movements for human rights, technology justice, and Pan-African solidarity. Before I hand it over to Kambale, I also want to let you guys know Kambale is one of the leading voices on the African continent in connecting not only the African continent, but connecting the issues of impunity, genocide, mass atrocities in what is happening on the continent of Africa and what is happening in Gaza, and also connecting the issues of, he does it really well, issues of police brutality, racial profiling, and the injustices and the lasting injustices in the U.S. toward Black people with the people in Palestine. So we are in for a treat, and it is a great honor for me to introduce and hand it over to my friend and colleague and comrade and mentor, Kambale Musavuli. And don't let the 2 decades fool you. He started as a teenager. So
He still looks very young.
welcome, Kambale.
So you are a survivor of the Rwandan genocide and you're advocating for the
Yes, I am.
of Congo genocide and other genocides. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Claude.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Muzaffali.
Thank you all. A lot of thoughts are going through my head, mainly because there were a few things I wanted to make sure to frame the discussion. Of course, I am from the Congo, but I happen to be born on planet Earth, so I'm just a human being like everyone on this call. And there were things at my younger age that I did not really understand, why, as a young man, I would watch movies such as Rambo, one man with a gun running into the forest, killing everybody and coming out as a hero. But that's a narrative from Hollywood that did not give me the political context of what the Vietnamese people were going through, right? Because they lifted up the story of Vietnam. And that now that I'm learning more about what happened in Vietnam, I'm wondering, why did they tell the story of killing human being with a hero with one gun? That completely transformed the understanding of many people around the world around conflict. Unless you have a lived experience of conflict, it's very hard for the ordinary person to understand what is happening on the African continent. So that's one frame. The second frame that I also want to make sure to put is, as we are discussing Palestine, and I'm going to apologize, it's been frustrating for me to hear the story of Palestine put, and then people say, what about the Congo? And the reason why it's frustrating to me to hear that, right, is because in my whole advocacy, the people who have helped me the most are Palestinians. I lived in New York City. There is an organization called Existence is Resistance. When Congo was not in the press, when nobody knew what was happening in the Congo, Palestinians in New York organized Occupy Peter Grossman Lawn. Many of you on this call do not know who Peter Grossman is, right? But these young Palestinians in New York found out that there was in Brooklyn a hedge fund manager who was suing the Congo, where he had a vulture fund. So he bought Congo's debt a penny on the dollar. So it was a $3 million debt that he bought. And he was trying to collect $100 million from the DRC, right? And this was a debt that Yugoslavia gave the Congo. And Yugoslavia is no longer a country. Yugoslavia went into war, Congo went into war, and they defaulted on the loan. So Palestinians have always been with me, right? So what now I'm hearing in 2024,
We'll
2024,
all be with you. Thank you.
exactly that. What about Congo? What about Sudan? I say, well, what about fighting for human rights? Because human rights defender anywhere around the world, when you hear injustice, you speak up. So what's very important is to lift up the stories of struggles, no matter where it is. This is why when I saw what was happening in Ferguson in August of 2014, the killing of Mike Brown, I am not from Missouri. I am not from St. Louis. I am not from Ferguson. I stopped everything I was doing to move to Ferguson. And I was there on the front line with the young people, and I met one of the most courageous young people in the world, because when I lived in New York, every time I organized a protest, I went to City Hall to get a permit to protest. So the city will tell me when to protest. But that wasn't the case for these young people. They saw an injustice, and the injustice of the young friend who was brutally assassinated by the police, that they wanted justice. And that has been the struggle for the Congolese. We've been screaming justice since 1885, when the African continent was carved up and given to European countries, and they took the Congo, a country the size of Western Europe, and then they gave this land to King Leopold for the extraction, right, of resources. Back then, it was the rubber used for the tires of the cars and the bicycle. A boom, there was an industrial revolution happening. Back then, up to 10 to 15 million Congolese died between 1885 to about 1908. And there was a complete silence to the world. Today, as we're looking at the conflict today, the stats that we hear is since 1996, Congo has lost over 6 million. And I'm always mentioning the number 6 million. So if you happen to follow what I share, you'll be surprised that in 2008, I said 66 million. 2009, I said the same thing. 2015, I said the same thing. And in 2025, I'm still saying 6 million. And the reason why I say over 6 million, when I know it's more than 6 million, it's a quite sad thing. I think the doctor from Sudan shared it, right, about the context of when do you declare famine. For our context is the fact that we have not been able to do a mortality study, right? The last mortality study in the Congo was released in 2008 by the International Rescue Committee. They did a study of the mortality rates in the Congo where they say from 1998 to 2007, 5.4 million Congolese have died, half of them being children under the age of 5, at the rate of 45,000 people dying every month. So the last mortality study was in 2008. They say 5.4 million people. From 2008 to now, the counts have not been kept scientifically, that if a Congolese say 10 million people have died, the first thing they'll ask you, what is your source, right? So what we are left to where millions of people have died in the DRC, the question now is who's killing the Congolese? Why are they dying? And why is there a debate on the question of genocide? In my head, there is no confusion on the question of genocide. Even at the United Nations, there is no confusion that the genocide is taking place in the Congo. I'm going to use their own word. On October 1st, 2010, the United Nations released a report called the UN Mapping Exercise Report, a report that documented 617 incidents of mass violation of human rights and international humanitarian law. 617 incidents. What does that mean? They killed 10 people, 20 people. That doesn't make it to the report. They massacre 100 people, bury them alive. That makes it into the report. So they look into 617 incidents. And in this report, it says that what is happening in the Congo are war crimes, crimes against humanity, and possible genocide if proven in a competent court. They published it in 2010. We are in 2025. The competent court has not been created. And the genocide statement was a very particular legal statement made against one of the staunchest US allies on the African continent, Rwanda, right? This report single-handedly targeted Rwanda for committing genocide in the DRC. And that's been a diplomatic problem. Because how do you hold a country that has had genocide, right? Rwanda has had genocide in 1994, where mostly Tutsis were massacred brutally. Then in 2025, Congolese are saying the nation that had genocide is committing genocide in the Congo, while this nation is allied to Israel, allied to the United States, allied to the European Union, and in the mass consciousness of the world who have read the story, it's hard for them to actually believe that the country that has had genocide is also committing genocide. So we are left with Congolese advocating and their allies advocating around the world is saying very clearly that we need an international tribunal for Congo. And this call was made by Dr. Mukwege, Dr. Denis Mukwege, a Nobel Peace Prize. When he won the Nobel Peace Prize, if you get a chance to listen to his speech, he's very well respected in DRC. He runs a hospital in DRC called Panzi Hospital, one of the premier hospitals, unfortunately known for something that's very horrific to us. The situation of the conflict with the targeting of the war, right? Rape as a weapon of war. And as this is happening across the Congo with the rebel militias, one of the major medical challenges is fistula, that many of the women are facing fistula. And him as a gynecologist has pretty much sewn women back together, over 50,000 women, right? Which is not even enough for the many women who've been affected. And in his Nobel speech, Nobel Peace Prize speech, whenever he was there, he said something very important, that because of the culture of impunity, it is very urgent for the world to rally in supporting the call of the creation of this tribunal. so that you can hold perpetrator accountable. So in terms of solutions, we know that what will bring peace and stability is not a peace agreement signed in Washington. It's not a peace agreement signed in Doha. It's actually justice. Why we believe that justice is going to bring peace and stability in the Congo is because we've seen in the past 29 years that the same perpetrator of violence continue to commit the crimes. In 1996, as a rebel group, they were called a different name, AFDL. In 1998, that rebel group was called RCD. In 2009, that same rebel group committing these crimes became a group called CNDP. And then the same group in 2012, they became what we are calling the M23. So for some of you today, when you read the news of the Congo, you hear M23. And you hear the press will tell you there are hundreds of rebel groups and will confuse you. When I say it's the same actors, changing names just as Blackwater changed his name to XZ, because they changed them, because people have a small attention span, they are not able to follow the story all the way through to actually hold the perpetrator of violence accountable. So for Congolese, our call is clear. For peace in the Congo to come, it has to be justice. Of course, there is need for humanitarian support, institutions to support. I mentioned Panzi Hospital, supporting the hospital where Dr. Mukwege is. The Congolese have launched a campaign for quite a while now called Free Congo. I'm sure you've seen the hashtag Free Congo online. If you go to freecongo.org, you will see different actions wherever you are around the world, where you can take actions for your policymakers. For a US audience, we are very clear that the US must stop supporting its allies committing the crimes in the Congo. Just the same way the US is supporting Israel for its crimes in Palestine, that's the same way the US is supporting Rwanda for its crimes in DRC. And I'm sure you've heard of the multi-million-dollar deal for peace for minerals that Trump is signing with the DRC, whereby they're looking at the Congo for mineral resources, not really for peace and stability. So putting pressure on the US government through legal means, and we know what are the legal means. Public Law 109-456. This law was introduced in the US Senate, surprisingly by Barack Obama in 2005. He was signed into law by George Bush in 2006. Public Law 109-456 is called the Democratic Republic of Congo Relief, Security, Democracy Promotion Act of 2006. Section 105 of this law, right? There is actually a US law that says what I'm about to say. So Section 105, of this law says that the US Secretary of State has the power to withhold aid to nations destabilizing the Congo.
The power to do what?
To withhold aid.
Revoke?
Yeah, revoke aid.
To stop it. Yeah.
Any nation destabilizing the DRC. The US has already recognized this is happening. The evidence is tremendous. The question is, why are US taxpayers today still supporting the Rwandan military? When the UN group of experts is showing us that the weapons that the rebels are using are coming from the Rwandan military lot. These rebels in the middle of the forest in Congo have night vision goggles, have surface-to-air vehicle to shoot down drones. They have all these sophisticated weapons that the UN group of experts are clearly stating that these weapons are coming directly from the Rwandan military. And they're even adding that the M23 rebels are fighting alongside 7,000 Rwandan Defense Force soldiers on the ground in DRC. And they passed a UN resolution at the UN Security Council unanimously, which included also the United States, right? So they passed a UN resolution 2773 condemning Rwanda and demanding that Rwandan soldiers leave the Congolese soil. While I'm throwing all these facts, right? Of no, there is this law, there is the UN, right? And you go into the press, and you start reading the press, they make you confused about what's happening. They want you to believe it's an ethnic conflict. Where the Congo is a country with 400 ethnic groups. So the question is, which tribe is killing which? Because I'm Nande, I know people who are Luba, I know people who are Bakongo. So we have 400 ethnic groups. So we know it can be an ethnic conflict. We are clear about the perpetrator. And what they do need at this moment is access to Congo's resources, the resources needed for your cell phone, for your laptop, for your electronic devices. Starlink cannot send its satellite without Congo's cobalt. Bill Gates cannot do any AI innovation without Congo's lithium. Just a side note, before I conclude, you should know that a couple of months ago, Bill Gates flew into the Congo. Most people miss that, right? Bill Gates, with his private jet, went to the Congo, met the Congolese president, signed a deal. Bill Gates signed a $1 billion deal to have access to the Manono mine, which is supposed to, if this mine has lithium, if it is operating a maximum capacity, it will provide 12% of the world's lithium. It's one of the largest lithium reserves in the world. It's in the DRC. Most people don't even know that Bill Gates was there signing this deal. So in this wave of the fourth industrial revolution, in this contestation between the United States and China for area supremacy or dominance, Congo is the collateral damage while you using US allies, Rwanda and Uganda, who are now the neo-colonial agent on the ground causing the mayhem. And the Rwandan people are suffering from it. So whenever I'm saying Rwanda, I should always remind everyone, I'm not speaking about the Rwandan people. I'm speaking about the Rwandan government, led by Rwandan President Paul Kagame and his military elite, who are serving Western interests. So where do we move from here? Unfortunately, it's a very short presentation, right? I know that many people want to learn more. You can learn more about the DRC. We released a documentary, a 26-minute documentary on the conflict called Crisis in the Congo. That documentary can be viewed at congojustice.org. So that's one thing, educating yourself about the situation in the Congo by watching that film so you get a better understanding of what the conflict is about and ongoing. After educating yourself, what we ask is you mobilize your community. Why mobilize the community? Because we need more and more people to be aware of what is happening. Every October, every third week of October, Congo Week takes place. Congo Week is an activity that even in Palestine, they hold Congo Week. The students at Berzit University have participated in Congo Week, shown our film at the university, and educated people about what is happening in the Congo. I think it was around 2013 or 2014 that the student at Berzit University hosted Congo Week. So every third week of October, there is Congo Week. You can go to congoweek.org, sign up so you could organize something. You can do a vigil. You can host a forum. You can invite the Congolese to your community. There are many things you could do, but the way I present it is whatever you do it for the Congo, right? So include the Congo in your advocacy and then everything else. And the last thing, right? So first thing was education. Second one was mobilization. And the last one is support. We need your support. This is a long-term struggle. Patrice Lumumba, our first democratically elected prime minister, brutally assassinated by the CIA, told us that we must fight for a free Congo. Right? The land that's there is important, not just for the Congolese, but for the African continent. Right? And the African continent, for it to grow, Congo must be stable. Congo is the second largest African country by size, the fourth largest by population with 120 million people, half of the population being under the age of 18. It's the engine that will transform Africa. It's not by accident that Patrice Lumumba was assassinated. And since he's been assassinated, Congo has been kept in a place where it can grow. So without it growing, it will affect the African continent. So the support that I'm calling for is the first link I shared with you, freecongo.org. You go to freecongo.org, you sign up to do activity, but also providing financial support to institutions. We work with the André Bloin Center in Kinshasa. The André Bloin Center, that name may not be familiar to many of you, but André Bloin was Patrice Lumumba's chief of staff. She was a woman from Central African Republic. She is actually the one who wrote Patrice Lumumba's Independence Day speech. So when people say Patrice Lumumba had this fire speech on June 30th calling out the Belgians, a woman wrote that speech. So what we did in Congo is we built a cultural center with her name, one to teach also Congolese that one does not have to be Congolese to change the Congo. She was from Central African Republic and was part of the Patrice Lumumba's cabinet, right? And she played an influential role. Two, in our history, she's probably the only woman I know who was able to get 45,000 women to get into a political program, right? There was even a movie about her that came out last year, I think. It's called a soundtrack to a coup d'etat. For those of you who may have seen it, they speak about her in the movie and what she did. So the André Bloin Center is in the heart of Kinshasa, where we show films, we organize forums, we mobilize within our communities in Kinshasa. And then in the east, in North Kivu, we work with Yole Africa, which is also a youth center, who organize film training, they organize forum. Right now, anyone who's living in Goma and Bukavu, they are living under a lot of tension because those two cities in the two provinces in the east is under occupation of the rebel group for the past few months. So any support you can bring to institutions who are based in Bukavu and based in Goma, like Panzi Hospital, Yole Africa, is critical. I think I will end there. Not sure if there will be time for questions, but I'm definitely reachable on any platform. And I'm really glad that we are discussing this. And I hope as we speak about Palestine, we should never say, what about Congo? What about Sudan? Because I know Palestinians have had a big heart forever, and they have helped me and my movement and the people I work with tremendously for the past few decades as I become an activist, speaking out for injustices in Congo and around the world.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Kambale. Amazing, amazing. Thank you. First off, that was not enough. You have to come here every
We need
week.
to hear more, yes, about
Come here every week.
Coming to our conference. I think, Kambale, are you coming to our conference?
And
I would love to be there, but I'm suggesting that we have a Congolese woman coming. And I'll say, because I do get a lot of platform
both
to speak. But there are many Congolese women I can suggest to be in the conference, and I can support. If they're not available, then I will come.
both. You and a Congolese.
woman.
Yes, please.
Yes, both, please.
And Claude, you too.
And we want to, Claude, I want to do a
guys...
Congolese month, not just a week. Doctors Against Genocide wants October to be a Congolese month. So please help us, whatever we need to do to make this Congo month or Congo week. We want to be full partners in this, and we're happy to help in any way. And please, we need to learn more. What you said is just the biggest proof that all these crimes are the same. When you were talking, it's just a mirror image of what's happening in Palestine. The world did not believe Rwanda, that just came out of genocide, that they can be the perpetrators of genocide now. That's why they gave them a free hand. The world did not believe that the Zionist regime that just came off the Holocaust to be the perpetrator of genocide in 1948. Israel committed the genocide in 1948, but they gave them a free hand. No, they cannot be committing genocide. Why? Because they just came off the Holocaust. Yeah. And what's the name of the latest name of the militia that you just mentioned?
M23.
Yeah, M23. It's not them. It's not just Netanyahu. It's Rabin. It's Peres. It's Begin. It's Ben Gurion. They changed the names, but the crime is the same. It's just they know how to every now and then come up with a new packaging, a new political cover, political name, but the criminal are the same. The system is the same. And the only way to do it is not just to come with the US or anyone else to give you, let's do, we're friends, let's share flowers and stuff like that. No, there should be justice, accountability. Otherwise, the impunity will allow them to keep doing this over and over and over again. We learned so much from you, Kampala. Please consider this your platform.
Yes,
You're
anytime
welcome
you're
to
free on Sunday, you're with us.
Guys,
Can I add a comment?
I can,
Yes, go ahead, Jihan.
Okay, just I want to say that the Israeli former IDF intelligence said we need to create Nakba from time to time for Palestinian to kill more Palestinian to Palestinian people. You know, they took this, and Smotrich said about that last week also, that we need to create Nakba from time to time to Palestinian.
Because the impunity, the arrogance of power, that the fact they know they are gonna get away with it, they can say, I mean, even the Nazis were not public about their crime. They did not, they were not going publicly about it. I mean, it's worse, it's much worse now. I mean, you expect that humanity and the international system is evolving, getting better. At least if you commit a genocide, you hide it, or at least hide your intention, or be a little bit implicit about it. No, they're just saying it all publicly, whether it's Congo or in Sudan. The rapists filming themselves, the criminals filming themselves in Congo and in Israel. And it's not just just regular people. It's the regular people, the citizens, the media, the leaders, the army, everyone, the religious leaders. So, I mean, thank you, Kambala. Thank you, Claude. We want to hear back from you. Please consider this your platform. We have to connect and show us more ways how we can support. And we want to learn more. One session is not enough. And forgive us because we don't know enough. We need to learn.
We have been trying to reach some Congolese people for a while. It's not easy. I think there is a language barrier. There is, it's just, so we're grateful that we have this connection. And we have our speaker, Zainab Bakhit. And Zainab, you're very patient, and we will have you again to talk to us. Zainab is from Sudan. She also lives in Boston, so she's a friend. We share a lot of friends
That's
together.
bias now. That's bias.
She's a Sudanese American attorney, mediator, human rights activist. She worked with community-based organizations and academic research institutes on issues related to health, housing, and economic development, food access, and community violence. She holds a JD from Northwestern Pritzker School of Law and a BA in Public Health Studies from Johns Hopkins University. She is more than qualified to speak to us about what is happening in Sudan, ways to help, and we will have her for a longer time so she can share with us in-depth information. Today, she will just share with us a few things and a donation link to support the people of Sudan who have been suffering for way too long.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction and for the invitation to join you all today. Before I start talking, I'm just going to add in these donation links in case anyone needs to drop off. But these are some groups in Sudan that you can support and that get aid directly to the ground. And I'll speak a little bit more about them at the end. I know that Dr. Sheza covered a lot of ground, so I will try my best not to repeat the information she shared. I have a longer presentation, as Karama mentioned, that kind of goes into details about reframing the conventional narrative about the Sudan war. And hopefully in a future week, I will go through the details of it. I'll give a quick overview today. But as she mentioned in the introduction, I am an attorney by training, and I have a public health background as well. So, the intersection between health and human rights is really a passion for me. And of course, like this is our lives. This is the experience of our communities. It's very much for me driven by being a member of the Sudanese diaspora. Unlike Sheza, I actually have never lived in Sudan, sadly. And, again, as a member of the diaspora, you always expect to have the opportunity to go back. And that in many ways has been taken from us. So we do what we can from afar to support our families. I have many relatives and immediate family members living in Sudan right now. So this has been something that is very close to my heart. But just to kind of very briefly talk about some of the, I think, conventional beliefs about the Sudan war that I think we all need to work on reframing, whether it's as doctors or lawyers or just human beings who are concerned about war in countries like Sudan. One thing that I often hear is that the Sudan war is a civil war. That's, if you see a news article about Sudan, they will often say, yeah, this is just a civil war between the Rapid Support Forces, a paramilitary unit that's supported by the United Arab Emirates, and the Sudanese armed forces, which is the military. And I think this is a quite simplistic view of the war. And with credit to Nisreen Alamin, who is a professor of anthropology at the University of Toronto, this war is really a counter-revolutionary war. And Sheza touched on this, but this is a war that came directly on the heels of a revolution in Sudan. And we have, like so many other countries, a history of protest in Sudan, and a history of protest that, in fact, is led by women and youth. This was a direct reaction to what was happening on the ground with the protest movement that deposed a 30-year dictator, Omar al-Bashir. I also think that there is often a narrative of scarcity, that is centered on conversations of what is happening in Sudan. So I think people have an expectation that because Sudan is an African country, people starve there. That's just something that happens. And I would really like to challenge that way of seeing not just Sudan, but African countries in general. And I think similarly in Gaza. For us, Sudan is a country of abundance, very similar to Congo, right? We have immense natural resources. We have the third largest gold reserves on the continent. The Nile River, the longest section of it, flows through Sudan. We have extremely fertile arable land, and many countries in the region are very interested actually in access to Sudan because of the water and because of our agricultural potential. It has the ability to feed much of the region. Sudan has been called the bread basket of the Middle East. Right before the war, people came into Sudan and they were looking at it as a potential alternative to Ukraine because the war had already begun in Ukraine. So it's a country that is not lacking in terms of natural resources and wealth. And in fact, that is why people are so interested in destroying Sudan and kind of taking their share of it. So I think, as you hear conversations about our country and, if people approach it from a scarcity perspective, I would encourage you to really, focus in on the fact that these are places that are blessed with abundance and a people who, no one deserves to be starved, but this is not just simply our reality. This is man-made. And then lastly, I think something that, again, goes with the conventional narrative of conflict and wars happening on the African continent and specifically in Sudan is this idea of dependency, right? That people are dependent on support on the outside and they have no agency and they have no resilience to counteract the situation that they're in. And while right now we are in a situation where Sudan needs desperate support from everyone, that is not disconnected from the fact that people on the ground have been saving themselves. There are incredible networks of mutual aid support. There's groups called emergency response rooms working on the ground in Sudan that came out of the resistance committees that were formed during the revolution several years ago. And these groups have essentially acted as the civil government in Sudan in the absence of a functioning government. They are providing food for people in areas that international aid can't reach. They are providing medical support. They're providing, they're repairing, the infrastructure. They're creating centers for women and children. They're helping people who are displaced. So there's so much that is happening on the ground, and the Sudanese people are really driving these relief efforts with some support from the outside. And I will say that the diaspora community has been really phenomenal in terms of stepping up. Every Sudanese family I know is supporting so many people back home and so many people who have been displaced. So that's where I would say, you know, when we help Sudan, it's really just bolstering the support that is already happening on the ground and that is coming from the diaspora community. So I won't repeat the details that Sheza, you know, described, but obviously the war in Sudan has triggered the world's largest humanitarian crisis. We have a mass displacement crisis, and I believe the world's largest displacement crisis. Anywhere from 13 to 14 million people have been forcibly displaced, both within the country and externally. There's been a collapse of all services. The healthcare infrastructure is completely shattered. I've seen statistics that somewhere in the range of 80% of healthcare facilities in Sudan, and specifically in the conflict areas, are not functioning right now. The roads in many places are impassable. Bridges have been destroyed. Airports and trains are out of service. So it really is a huge challenge to just exist and survive. And this is outside of the violence that has been enacted on the Sudanese people. So we know that both the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese Armed Forces have, sadly targeted civilians, right? They've been caught in the middle. I think the Rapid Support Forces is the group that it has gotten a lot of attention, and as it should, because it is the perpetrator of a genocide in Sudan. And, you know, they also continue to seize money and gold and even cars. You know, they're stealing cars. My grandmother's car was stolen in Sudan, and they're using all of this to help fuel this war. As has been mentioned by so many, sexual violence has been a weapon of war against civilians in this conflict. And, you know, beyond that, there are kind of issues that I think people forget. The schools have been closed in Sudan, and universities have been shuttered. You know, hearing the narratives from Gaza of how people are continuing their education is really moving and empowering. And for so many in Sudan, that has not been an option. And it's really creating what's been considered a lost generation. I have cousins who are have been out of school now for years, and you know, their lives are kind of on standstill. The starvation crisis has been discussed in, I think, the past webinar, but over 24 million, close to 25 million are experiencing acute food insecurity. And within that, many people are experiencing famine. And there are two areas that I think are very much deserving of our attention right now. One is El Fashir in North Darfur, and the other is Kadugli in South Kordofan. So these are two regions of Sudan that are currently besieged. El Fashir has been under siege, I think, for approximately 16 months. So we have seen this coming for a long time. There have been alarms and red flags kind of like raised about the starvation crisis. Zamzam is a displacement camp very close to El Fashir. In the past few months, in April, there was a horrific Rapid Support Forces attack on that community. And it was just shown that about 1,500 people were murdered in that attack, including all of the staff of the last functioning medical clinic in that camp. The camp was completely destroyed, and it displaced about 400,000 people, and then another 100,000 were trapped, it's believed, without food and medicine and services. So this now carries directly over into the siege of El Fashir, because many of those people who are displaced in Zamzam, which really should have been triggered kind of alarms for around the world, but didn't, ended up in El Fashir. And again, this is a community that already is under siege. It's estimated that approximately 300,000 civilians are trapped in El Fashir with no safe way to access supplies. People are eating animal feed right now. We've seen many images and videos of people who have no meals, and perhaps the one meal they'll eat in the day is animal feed. And that is very, very quickly running out, and for some has already run out. Actually, the World Food Program has not been able to access this area of Sudan like international support has been very difficult in the context of our war and genocide and humanitarian crisis. The World Food Program has been trying to enter this area for over a year now. And the last year, they tried to get a convoy to Al Fashir. It was attacked. Many aid workers were killed. The aid that they had been trying to deliver was destroyed. And even now, if you go on the World Food Program's website and social media accounts, they have been trying to enter this area and have had no assurances of safe passage. So, like in Gaza and so many other areas, the food is ready and it's waiting for people. It's just the safe access is not there. So this is, an intentional starvation of a population. And then the other community that I'll talk about that deserves our attention is South Kordofan, particularly an area called Kadugli, and they are facing siege-like conditions, which are triggering starvation and medical shortages. I just saw a report about several children who died of starvation, but also dialysis patients who died because they weren't able to access, the ongoing care that they need. Actually,
Zainab,
oh yes,
do you mind?
sure.
Are you going to be with us for a minute? Lana has to go. Lana is a speaker, but she has another meeting to jump to. If you don't mind, a few minutes for
No problem.
Lana,
Sure.
then we'll come back with you. We have a problem with DAG. We overpromise, but since our mission is for justice, we think no mission is impossible, and it's okay to overpromise with your help and flexibility to everyone. We should always, the sky's our limit. So Lana is a activist who focuses on indigenous sovereignty from Hawaii to Palestine, as well as food sovereignty. We will come back to you, Zainab, in a minute, please. Her specialty is in logistics. She's currently working with the Global Sumud Flotilla US team to send dozens of boats to Gaza at the end of the summer. Thank you, Lana. Thank you for your patience. I know you have another meeting to go to, but we want to hear a little bit from you. What's your message? And also, you're welcome to come back next week to follow up on, again, sorry, we have too many speakers, but it's okay. This
Thank you
is
guys
your
so much.
house,
You've been
your
such
home.
amazing
You're
speakers.
welcome to come back and add more every week.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. And I'm so sorry to interrupt you. You are such an amazing speaker, and as have been the previous speakers. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to hear you all. I'll make this really fast. Basically, quick overview of the Global Sumud Flotilla for people who aren't familiar with it yet. There are 44 countries that will be sending dozens of boats to Gaza at the end of this month, the month of August. So the first launch will be August 31st out of Tunisia. The second launch will be, out of Spain. And the second launch will be September 4th out of Tunisia. I am with the Global Movement to Gaza, previously Global March to Gaza, the folks that tried to march to the Rafah border crossing and were turned back by the Egyptian government in June. We're one of the 3 international coalitions organizing this. So there's that group, and then a coalition out of South Asia and a coalition out of North Africa, all working together to put on the Global Sumud Flotilla, which could be understood best as like an action coordinated by these 3 international groups. So Global Movement to Gaza, who I'm with, the United States delegation. And it's our opinion that the flotillas provide an amazing opportunity where there is just so much international and national media attention on Gaza, especially as, very unfortunately, it's starting to fall off people's radars a little bit with all of the national scandals that are happening and the rise of fascism in our country. So we really want to press on this lever while it's available to us. The sale coincides with the first week that Congress is back in session. And so we're going to do a couple of things to take advantage of this time and this momentum. The first thing is we're running a national hunger strike. There will be 2 sessions. Originally, I'd asked because I was still looking for a doctor with experience in hunger strikes, but we now have found someone to run the training sessions this upcoming week. But we are still looking for mental health providers who would be willing to provide support to participants in the hunger strike. This strike is going to be a calorie restriction rather than like a full like water only fast that some people might be more familiar with. And it's because we're trying to mobilize a lot of people to participate it. And so there's not going to be direct medical supervision of all of them, but we'll have some support groups and probably a buddy system. And so if anybody is available to help participate in that, it would be amazing. We'd be grateful. So this is going to run 2 weeks. It's going to be the last week of August and the first week of September. During those 2 weeks, we'll also be running 2 weeks of actions. So the first week, the last week of August, is going to be a week of actions in everybody's hometowns around the country. We have regional coordinators that are working to mobilize different areas of the country. And if you folks, whatever groups you're involved in at home, feel free to reach out to me on Signal, preferably. And we can plug you into the regional organization for that. We've got a quick 2-page briefing about it, and we'll just get you plugged in really quick. Then there will be an International Day of Action, the week end of the first launch. That's August 30-31. And then the next week, we're going to be bringing people to Washington, D.C. The goal with this is not to do like a big march. The goal is to plug into organizations that are on the ground, that are already doing work in DC and familiar with the scene here and what the pressure points are, and to provide this kind of like national support and this opportunity for them to have access to people from around the country. We're in conversations with a few different groups. Code Pink is committed to host 2 days of work in the legislature. And then, we're in conversations with a few other groups that are big in the DC scene that are still working out what the commitment is going to be, but it's likely that like they'll kind of run events and we'll schedule them out across the whole week. So the asks for you all is, again, if there are mental health providers that you are or you know, please reach out to me and we'll get you plugged in. And then if you guys are part of local organizing groups, to get you guys activated for this first week of actions. And then if you have folks that are interested in coming to DC, again, to get you guys activated and to come to DC and participate in those actions. And if we're also looking for groups to do endorsements of the scale. And of course, we are fundraising because it is expensive to send boats internationally. If I didn't mention it, the US delegation of GMTG is sending 2 ships. One of the ships will be full of veterans, and then the other will be full of doctors, artists, activists, and all other sorts of people. And that's my fast version.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you for sharing this. This is very important action. Please feel free to share your contacts or action alerts or suggestions in the chat. And please stay in touch. You're welcome to come back next week for any follow-ups or other reminders or calls. And again, we're out of time. And Zainab, I did not forget about you, but I want to go to my new friend. Where is he? Munder. I think we lost him. Munder? Oh, sorry. He's in Gaza, and I think maybe they lost the connection. He's been waiting for a long time. Munder, are you there? No, we just lost him. Okay, just 1 second, please. Okay, 1 second. Just give me a minute. Okay.
Oh, I was on mute. I, I was talking into the void. I was saying that Zainab, I'm getting a lot of messages asking asking for the information that you want to share with us, the donation link, and a lot of appreciation for what your contributions. So hope to have you also back again to give us a more in-depth presentation about Sudan. Again, there is nothing better than hearing from the people who have personal, deep connections to the country where they're from, and I think DAG members appreciate that. So for our friends in Congo, our friends in Sudan, our friends in Rohingya, we really appreciate it when you come and share with us. It's not just solidarity. it's also resistance. So thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah, so whatever I think Zainab put some of the links, and maybe Mesa can put them back in.
Yeah, the links are in there. It should be the last set of links that I dropped in. I provided 3 different ways to support. There are many others. I encourage you all to look at mutual aid efforts. Many people have been sharing them on social media. I highlighted 3. One is a group called Displacement and Health Relief Network. I know that they are serving El Fasher right now, one of the 2 communities that I mentioned that are under siege. So I would recommend donating to them. Another group, HRRDS, sadly, I don't know what that stands for, but I know that they are currently working in South Kordofan, including Kadugli. So that's another organization to support. And then lastly, the Mutual Aid Sudan Coalition is the group. I've created a fundraiser link for them and have been raising money since about March of this year. And they are providing direct support to the emergency response rooms across Sudan. Again, these are Sudan's heroes, and they're doing incredible work. The money, 95% of the money goes directly to these agencies on the ground, and it allows them to kind of make their own decisions about what their communities need. And again, it's run by Sudanese organizers and activists. So these are all direct aid opportunities.
Thank you so much. And this are any of these organizations are nonprofit, or these are
Yeah, so the Mutual Aid Sudan Coalition, the way it was set up is it's a US-based organization that kind of can receive the funds, and then it channels them directly to Sudan. So that one would be like tax deductible, and so it's based in the US, but they're serving Sudan, and the only fees that they take are just like the processing fees and very minimal legal fees, so about 5%. And then the other 2, to be honest, I'm not as familiar with. These are links that have been shared by activists that I trust, because I was looking for groups that, again, work directly in El Fasher in South Kordofan. Mutual Aid Sudan Coalition does work in those communities as well. There just isn't a way to require or direct your support to a specific area. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, very helpful. Thank you. And Lena also put some links for the flotilla, and this effort is going to be different because there are multiple flotillas going together, and there are hunger strikers who are supporting them. So we're hoping that this will shake things up. We do have a hunger striker in Boston. She's a medical doctor. She is a senior medical doctor, actually, and a few other interested people who want to do the hunger strike with her. We will share more information. We are supporting her. She's a DAG. She wants actually to direct to make to raise money for food relief for Doctors Against Genocide. Now, this is always a dilemma. We really want this genocide to end, whether it's in Sudan, whether it's in Congo, whether it's in Gaza. We do not want to spend all our efforts raising money in futility, because this is an endless thing. As Zainab said, Sudan is a country of abundance. It has a lot of resources. Congo is a country of abundance. It has a lot of resources. No one should be hungry. Gaza, the people in Gaza are famous for their amazing food culture and for their generosity and for their beautiful tables, and reducing them to supplements that are dry just to prevent starvation is an insult to everyone's humanity. And it's something that we should not accept as normal. So, as we are trying to help and raise funds and send money to help people and prevent starvation, we should all remember this should not be happening to begin with. And it is in the power of the politicians to stop this immediately, and they choose not to. because of interest, because of military industrial complex, because of political controversial targets and opinions, and this should not be happening. And that is why we feel that the more the medical community is engaged in the prevention and the advocacy against genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, we at least may have a chance to actually reverse course and make this a thing of the past. Because at this time and age, no one should be starved, and no child should be killed, and no child should be prevented from living safely and going to school with their full family, not half a family or a quarter of a family. So this is a pledge. We at Doctors Against Genocide take prevention and advocacy extremely seriously, way more than the aid. The aid is we doing it so that people need to survive, but our goal is really to prevent.
Thank you, Karama. I want to just go to Dr. Sui because she has something to share before she leaves. She has to leave too. Dr. Sui, are you still there? Dr. Sui? Dr. Suyang? She might have left.
She had to leave
I'm
the
here.
dash. Oh, she's still
she's
there.
here.
Okay,
She's
perfect.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
just that,
sorry about the delay, Dr. Sui, but thank you for being
no.
for
I
your
just,
patience. Go ahead.
no, it's a very, very engaging webinar. Thank you for so many wonderful speakers and activists. I tell you, it's very inspiring. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that the Israelis have got a plan to deport people from Gaza to Sudan. Now we have got a lot of people from Sudan speaking, so I think that's very ominous because that will be taking Gaza out of the attention from Gaza itself into Sudan. That has been worrying me. I've just come back from a speaking trip in East Asia, but that was published by MEE. So that's a question I want to raise. How do we stop that?
So they're going to be adding salt to injury. I mean, the people of Sudan are already struggling, and they're going to add another community that's already struggling to
to
them.
destabilize even more.
It just tells you that genocide perpetrators and the Western culture actually don't see the global South people, the people, brown people, as normal human beings. I mean, these are not, like your pets or something. You play with them as you wish, and you just move these people to that place, starve these people, kill these people. These people are disposable. They're not as important. I mean, if the people in Sudan or in Gaza or in Congo maybe were white, I don't think the world will be talking about them in these terms. Sorry, Maribeth, but I know your brown heart. It's okay. You're with us.
Can I
It
also
also
just say,
exposes the relationship
you're not
between
white.
I also just wanted to say that plan that has been shared and reported on is to displace people to South Sudan, which became its own nation about 10 years ago now. And it is a country that itself is experiencing a lot of conflict and is really on the brink of collapse. So yeah, and the South Sudanese government has apparently denied that they are in these talks. So who knows what's actually happening, but it's a very concerning plan that has been shared.
All they need is 2 million Palestinians or more.
It's just unconscionable how they think of this. It's like, oh, Congo, that's fine. I mean, they don't see the people, they see the resources. Gaza, I mean, it's a cost, it's a good piece of land, it's on the beach. Kushner can build a, beach property there. And I mean, who cares about the people? Just move them, throw them somewhere else. Sudan is the same. I mean, you can split it the way you want. They will talk about it only when it serves their interest, and then they will ignore it when nobody cares. And also about the resources in Sudan. So they care about the resources more than they care about the human beings, about the people. These who claim themselves to be the leaders of the international world, of the rules-based system, the international system, they cannot be trusted with the fate of our humanity. I mean, this is completely unacceptable, completely inhumane, and we really think people of conscience all over the world, especially the global South, we need to reject this. We need to rise up, and we cannot put the fate of these vulnerable communities and populations, wherever they are, at their hands. They will exploit us to the last drop of the last child in Gaza or in Sudan or in Congo. They don't care. We cannot trust their faith. We cannot trust that they will eventually wake up. We cannot trust that they have any good intentions for us. They just simply don't care. A business deal is more important than maybe half of the population of the continent as far as they are concerned. And so thank you, everyone. We're going to open
One
it up.
more thing. Please, can you
Okay.
repost the
Yeah, go ahead.
letter on the GHF? You already got
Go ahead.
nearly 17,000 signatures, but just repost it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eng. Munzir, I think lost him. If he's able to come back, we'll talk to him. But otherwise, let's open the floor, have discussion with our colleagues here, our panelists, their reflections, open discussion, any questions, any suggestions for actions. Maybe before many people leave, we want to remind everyone that we do have a Doctors Against Genocide conference. It's going to be next month at the University of Michigan. We have Dr. Imad Abu Arab here. He's going to talk to you more about it. Please, Imad, before we lose many attendees, if you want to announce more about the conference.
Yeah, thank you.
By the way,
Assalamu alaikum.
before you go, everyone here is invited to our conference, please. As a speaker, we would love to have all of you. And Kambari, if you can have Congolese women as representative along with you, that will be great. Anyone you think who is a good voice or a voice that we need to hear, please suggest to us, and we are happy to invite them and even cover their travel cost if we have to.
I just posted
Ahmed.
the link to the conference as well. Ahmad.
Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for everybody for the wonderful discussion and topics. The conference is going to be held at the University of Michigan's Medical School, where I am currently a faculty member at the medical school. And we're going to try to focus on different areas of genocide, not only geographically, but different ways genocide affects kind of future lives currently. And so we're going to have talks a little bit on the legal aspects of genocide, along with some topics regarding how genocide affects education systems, and so this classified, as well as the repression we've seen on college campuses, along with speakers and students from Colombia who hopefully will be there to discuss their suppression as well. We're going to talk about how DAG has been advocating in DC regularly over the last 2 years, and we're going to talk about how we've been building the advocacy work, and then also we're going to talk about, it's a medical conference as well, so we're going to talk about how genocide affects the healthcare systems, and that includes starvation as well as infectious disease, and the rest of it. So we're looking forward to all of you being there. It's in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where the University of Michigan is. If you register, we'll hopefully have a link for you. There's a block of hotels that we're going to have reserved with a discounted rate. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask or to reach out. So looking forward to seeing you all there next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. تفضل.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Okay, so go according to the list here. First of all, I think Munzir is not here yet. Okay, I think we lost him. It's okay, we can talk to him next week. According to my screen here, we have Dr. Shatab. Mariam is next. What? Mariam, are you there? Unmute yourself, please. Go ahead.
Just it was an impressive lineup of speakers, and not gonna lie, it suddenly starts feeling really heavy when you realize we have 3 concurrent genocides, same perpetrators. You just start to feel a little bit overwhelmed. So definitely feeling that. I really appreciated Shaz's contribution. She really echoes what Dr. Alex DeWall mentioned like 2 weeks ago about how this IPC classification system, like we use it as though that is the definitive marker for famine, but really it's a matter of like resource allocation and money. So it lags behind so horribly, which delays the response. So I thought that was a wonderful connection, and I feel you on just that anger and despair about the bodies of women and girls always becoming a battlefield in every conflict. People are, there are people asking some really good questions in the Q&A section about that. That is a very long discussion as to what we do and why that happens every single time. I am really happy that Zainab brought up the UAE connection, because I don't think that should ever go overlooked, because they have a great marketing scheme, and I believe in calling out every complicit Arab country. So the UAE, all of that gold that is coming from Sudan, please do not vacation there. Do not buy their gold. Don't fall for their slick social media, Dubai chocolate nonsense. Okay. Like, look into it very closely, because money drives it all, and it's like the same players. And then I'm sorry, I don't see Dr. Ahmed here. Hope he's doing well at Nasser. Just heavy conference. Thanks.
Thank you, Mariam. Yes, we are worried Dr. Ahmed is not here. It's been very rough in Gaza, especially at Nasser and the other hospitals, but let's pray for their safety. I hope they're okay. Go next, Dr. Iman Husni, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to thank all of the speakers today. I wrote some notes. If I can read my handwriting, sorry. But I thought it was really important that we educate the public on refeeding syndrome, since it's not always the medical community that is primarily involved at the beginning, especially in areas where people can't get to hospitals. I thought that was really important. I also thought it was really important how we need to change the narrative and educate people that these areas are actually rich in minerals. They can feed themselves. They have arable land, and part of the genocide is the perpetrators destroying that land, just like in Palestine, where we see, every time they try to plant things or get around things, that is targeted. And I find it really always so incredible, both, Palestine, Sudan, Congo, all that the people on the ground are going through, but yet they don't give up. And they are constantly innovative with whatever resources that they have, mashallah. And then I also really appreciated, Kambali, that how you mentioned the thing about, when you talk about Philistine, sometimes people say, well, what about Congo? What about Sudan? And I remember that happened to us one time. We were outside protesting. The AMA had their annual conference in DC, outside the Hyatt. And I remember, we were trying to catch people as they were going in and out. And I remember one of the doctors said that to us, well, what about what's going on in Congo and Sudan? And, personally, I felt kind of well, yeah, okay, it's horrible. Do something too. That's not the answer. The answer is not just to throw at us, well, what about? Yeah, what about? There are 3 genocides going on, and that people, I don't think they really realize how much support indigenous people in those areas are giving to each other. I also saw that too sometimes in the Black community, where people were questioning, well, why should we go and help Palestinians? And I'm not saying that because I think there are a lot of Black Americans who are, but they were not aware of how Palestinians were, trying to send information out, when we were out there protesting for BLM. So I really appreciate you saying that. I do want to let folks know we've decided on our next Hill date being September 10th. I just wanted to give you guys enough time to start preparing. So if you can make it, we would really appreciate. More details will be coming out, but that way, if you need to make travel plans, and I'm sure we'll be doing the same thing where we get a block of hotels at a discounted rate. We wanted to try to get there sort of as soon as Congress is coming back. And also before our conference. So hope to see as many of you there, because we really need to keep Gaza on the forefront. I remember one time we went to go to Senator Reid's office, and his aide specifically said, thank you for coming, because we were getting distracted with what was going on with Iran. So we have to be there to keep pressing them. And I think one of the things we'll probably focus on is the block the bombs. But I would also like to see us also either maybe leaving a leave behind, but also reminding them of the genocide in Sudan and Congo when we go. Thanks.
Thank you, Iman. I think since you mentioned September 10th, and Lana just mentioned that the first week of September, they're going to use it for DC advocacy. So if there's a way, maybe we can connect these two actions. Since we're going to be there, let's talk more to Lana and see if we can do something together. Combine the two actions since we're both going to be in DC and amplify our voices collectively. Yeah. No, we have, oh my gosh, Mary Beth Brownlee, the famous superstar now. Her video all over the place. تفضلي ماري
I
بيث.
don't have the rights to it. That's Danya. It's
مرحبا، احكي عربي،
artistic
احكي
vision.
عربي، احكي عربي لو سمحتي.
I'm waiting for her to unmute. Like,
احكي
all I
عربي.
did was yell.
مرحبا.
No. All right. So yeah, we did a protest on Tuesday, organized by Within Our Lifetime. And we got like initially like pushback from the cops. It was a practical demonstration of racism and classism and even how the police handle people. But so they had already arrested like and brutalized 2 young people. Then pushed the group to like the Egyptian embassy and then to the UAE and like consulate, where we did do some demonstrating on Sudan there, tried to head back to the UN. And we were getting pushback on protesting on the taxpayer funded sidewalk in front of the UN. And so myself, and if we could bring Jane up, she's a participant, or not a participant, she's an audience member right now. Jane was with us, and Alice. And we decided like we're gonna hold this line. We had another physician come join us, who I don't think is in the call right now. And we're gonna hold this line because we're saying bread, not bombs, let the children eat on a public sidewalk. And the point of pushing the protest further from the UN is because they don't want the UN workers to be disrupted by the sounds of people calling for bread, not bombs. So we got arrested. Danya filmed, and carried all our stuff, knowing that they were going to haul us off. But the important point in this is to notice how that group initially was 3 white women holding that banner in our lab coats. And the police were comparatively polite in how they handled us. And we were processed pretty quickly. Whereas the kid who had been arrested hours prior, the friend who was looking for them couldn't even find them. And the cops had no record of them and no ability to say where they even were taken to by the time we got out. So you see again that like that racism and like economic privilege at play, even just in how these arrests were handled differently. I have seen some comments online where people are using like, look at this white woman yelling like this to shame their own governments for not doing more about genocide, which, okay, go ahead, use me. Like, that's fine. They're like, well, look at this white woman says it and look at how terrible you are. But also thinking about, this thread has come up about the use of sexual violence as a tactic in conflict. And we see where there's smoke, there's fire. And so we all have a responsibility to push misogyny, which the wider manifestation of misogyny is like anti-child, anti like lower income. All of that needs to be included as well. We have to root that out too in our activism and call it out when we see it. And we can't act like addressing misogyny is a distraction from the activism that we do. We cannot act like saying, hey, this social media personality with a history of making problematic videos that hypersexualizes racialized women, we can't act like that's a distraction just because we have people being starved. Because they're all part of the same problem of this systemic victimization that occurs at the hands of the Anglosphere at large. So another genocide I think we do overlook is the genocide of Black people in America. We do that both through, like, you know, police killing Black people with impunity in extrajudicial killings, but also through medical violence, obstetric violence, 3 to 1. Like, anybody know what I'm referring to off the top of your head if I say 3 to 1 in obstetric violence?
Is it child mortality rate, infant mortality rate, or?
Yep. Black mothers, even when you control for all the independent variables, how close she lived to a hospital, Black mothers die in childbirth at 3 times the rate of white mothers.
Wow.
Black infants die in that neonatal period at 3 times the rate of white infants.
Where is that happening?
In the United States.
Of America.
Of America.
The most powerful nation in the world, the leader of the free world.
Yep.
That's still the ratio of Black to other communities. Death rate of women during childbirth in the United States of America is 3 to 1.
Yes, 3 to 1.
After accounting for all other variables.
I mean, like a very well-known case, a woman, she was a PhD epidemiologist, a researcher for like the National Institute of Health, married, I think even married to a white guy, pregnant with her first baby, still a victim of the statistic. And so our system is so sick, and we are still genociding not just people abroad, brown and Black people in Africa, in the Levant, but we are genociding them here in the United States that live here. So let's
add to that the carceral system, and also add to that now the genocide and the war on the immigrants. Those who do not have a citizenship. So treating you as a human only, you qualify as a human being only if you have the right citizenship. That's by itself is genocidal. It's a genocide intent. All the rhetoric that this administration and unfortunately a big segment of the United States is building against the immigrants, dehumanizing them, demonizing them, building culture of hate against them, that they are a threat, they are a risk, they are criminals, they are drugs, they are this, they are that. This is actually, as we said in Doctors Against Genocide, we care about preventing genocide, not wait until it happens. This meets all the stages of genocide, the campaign of building hate against some group in society, whether it's the Black people or any minority, and now the immigrants, that at one point you will see regular citizens taking, things in their hand and start maybe killing or mass killing, immigrants, or getting rid of them one way or another. That's genocidal, and we need to step in now to stop this culture of hate, building hate, demonization, and dehumanization of the immigrants community before we reach a stage of mass loss of life and mass atrocity, where intervention at that time will be too little, too late. What did you say, Maribeth?
There was just a shooting. Was it in Washington State? A Black man in a wheelchair and a white guy just, I think in the past like 12 to 24 hours, just was like, you're lying about being a veteran, and felt entitled to shoot this man in broad daylight in public.
Wow, that's terrible. Okay, thank you. We'll go to the new Hollywood star and media specialist, Dania Khalid. Please, Dania, you're the one who took the videos of Maribeth, so you're partners in the crime.
The irony in this is, anybody that knows me says, don't let her take photos of you because she'll mess it up. So the irony that the one time I get assigned this big role, I come out swinging. So, but no, they truly were,
beginner's luck.
Yeah, beginner's luck. But truly, the way that went down was very impressive, and the trust and just the commitment to the cause and spreading the message was pulled off so seamlessly by our lovely Dagsters. So I just was there to document it. But some reflections, I guess, to start out with, I feel like I got the wind knocked out of me with the impressive panel we had. It was all so very enlightening. And I think once you have the privilege of hearing from these individuals, you have to act. We can't unknow what's been shared with us. So yeah, wind knocked out of me. Thank you all. And I just also want to reflect on this time last week, we were all together when we received news of Anas al-Sharif's assassination. And what's extremely daunting about all this is the news coming out of Gaza has significantly decreased.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just have no words. In terms of just actions, the Block the Bombs bill, last I checked, there's been 33 co-sponsors. Not enough, but we have to just continue doing what we can to increase that number, especially after the State Department just announced that they're halting humanitarian visas because the children from Gaza with the amputated limbs, they present as a national security concern. So maybe if we stop, dropping these 2,000 bombs on them, maybe they won't need to come here for medical attention. So we really, I know we all feel like we've just been reduced to feeding the people in Gaza, but I can't stress it enough. We have to. The main thing has to be the stopping the military aid. That has to be first and foremost. And I know we all feel like just this, because these are people that, they like, it's like Garana said, like you go into a person, from Palestine in general, and you'll have the spread they'll provide for you with, it's just unbelievable. So I know we're all feeling like this is what we've been reduced to, but one of our responsibilities is to keep them alive. And that entails helping feed them as they lift, as hopefully the siege is lifted soon, hopefully. And we have to stop the bombs. And also, Kambale, I did want to comment on, I know you brought up existence as resistance, and I believe you're referring to Nancy. Oh, she's a powerhouse, and a powerhouse. And anybody that knows Nancy is just, so blessed.
Who's Nancy?
She's I'm blanking on her last name, but she's the founder of Existence is Resistance, and now she's the founder of Eyewitness Palestine. And to know her is to love her. She's incredible. But that's my reflection. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dania.
So killing the journalists, killing the ones who are showing the truth. I think this advice, I mean, of course, they're criminals, they'll do it on their own, but I think this advice that was given to them by the United States, as long as you kill them in silence and the world does not know, we're okay with this. That's why kill the journalists, kill the eyewitness, stop sending that. There's a talk now that they're going to stop also medical missions from going in. Don't allow international journalists to go in. As long as people in Gaza or in Sudan or Congo die in silence, nobody knows about them, it's fine. Do not embarrass us with the pictures of children starving and all these things. So I think this was unfortunate an advice given to them from the United States. Okay, now, I mean, we cannot end this without having the philosopher reflections. Dr. Tom Badroni, the philosopher in the house. Faddal.
Yeah, the fool's philosopher, maybe you could call me. I want to start out by continuing with something that our movie star, Mary Beth, talked about. She talked about Black genocide, and that's what I want to really bring forward. We could talk about multiple genocides in the US, of course, right? Ongoing, like the indigenous genocide. But I'm going to focus a moment on the Black genocide because, first of all, it's absolutely central to my own research, which is an identity completely related to, but completely aside from DAG. My research is on looking at um, educational policy, urban educational policy, as a vehicle for driving displacement and dispossession in American cities, with using Detroit and Flint and a couple other predominantly Black cities as case studies. Um, I I think that given that the Black genocide is something that is, clearly 500 years old and still continuing, I want to thank Mary Beth, not only for attracting the camera's gaze, but also for bringing that point up because, I think we should seriously consider bringing someone to speak on Black genocide to our conference. Um, I think that one of the most important roles for us is to recognize, I mean, of course, we are a united nation with Israel already, but we still think of ourselves mainly as being, over here in this part of the world. And, perhaps highlighting genocide at home is very important. An obvious secondary consideration would be the ongoing indigenous struggles in this country. One of the conveniences of in the genocide of indigenous people in this country is that most Americans believe that that's something that's well behind us, and we can just do our land acknowledgments and feel sort of multicultural as we do it, and that's all that horrible episode of the past is all about. When we know that the struggles over land are very much ongoing today. And could be featured as well. I'm highlighting the Black genocide only because it's so much closer to my research. I think I commented even last time about the spraying with mace of Black people who were waiting for their food at a food truck in Flint. It didn't result in death, but it was still horrible to witness. So that's one of my major comments. Reflecting on what we heard today, there is so much to reflect on. And I just want to focus for a moment on someone who I don't think has been mentioned yet as we've sort of debriefed, and that's Iyad Amawi, and his comments that he made about the engineered economy in Gaza. And I think we've known it for a long time that Gaza is used as a laboratory, a horrific laboratory by Israel to develop new technologies. This came very clearly through one of the films we showed in the film series that organized at Wayne State last year. Was it last year? Yeah. The Lab. If you haven't seen The Lab, it's available for free on YouTube, and I encourage you to watch it. It's already more than 10 years old, but it delineates how, in that case, mostly weapons are developed to be marketed around the rest of the world. But we also need to think of technology not just as armaments, but also knowledge technologies. We know very well that in an ingenious way, I guess you could say, an evil genius way, Israel is paying very close attention to the experiments that it's conducting around this engineered economy in Gaza. It is developing technologies of crowd control and technologies of erasure and genocide. They always learn from and export the lessons that they learn in the course of conducting the evil that they are conducting. And I think that Ayad led me to think about that in a more disciplined way. And I want to spend a lot more time thinking about it, about how these conditions with the evolution of black markets aren't just sort of incidental or ephemeral or a side effect. Part of the question could be, how do you conduct a genocide hands off almost, right? In other words, you don't just need to hit them with missiles, although we're certainly doing that. But how can you deconstruct and destroy the fabric of society? I mean, so not only how can you create these conditions with this engineered economic, scarcity doesn't even begin to reflect it, but how can you also cultivate um, the killing of Palestinians and the destruction of Palestinians by other Palestinians? I mean, I think it's been long been an experiment with that. We could go back to the civil war between Hamas and Fatah and talk about that as being engineered in many ways as well. But how can you do the work? How can you do the dirty work at a lower cost, you could say, right? The armaments are expensive. The armaments are subject to possible boycott, right? Israel knows that there were people who were pressuring the US government, although I'm sure they were confident that we wouldn't win. But how can you do that at a lower cost without even using those sorts of technologies, without having to as blatantly sacrifice the prestige of Israel? By bringing in appearances of aid trucks at the same time that the black market conditions with even things like internal monetary dynamics being the engine of genocide, right? The way that cash is not available, the way that you pay such a huge markup to get cash, to convert credit to cash so that you can buy food in the markets or from black market handlers or whatever it might be. I'm sure that these are all things that lessons are being derived from that can be exported. And I thank Ayad for bringing that to the fore. And again, so much rich stuff that we heard today, but I'll leave it there so that others have a chance to respond as well.
Thank you, Tom. I want to give actually Claude another opportunity to give reflection, final remarks before we lose him because we lost Shaza. I'm trying to get her back. Then we have Faisal and Anar. After that, Claude, go ahead.
We want to hear like from Najeeb.
And Najeeb, where is Najeeb? Is he still here with us?
He's
Yeah.
here.
Before we lose him, we need Najeeb and Claude. What's your friend's name, Claude?
Kambale.
Farhad is here too. Farhad left, I think.
Farhad left. He has something to do. I think we lost Kambale, yeah?
Yeah,
Kambale left, yeah.
That's okay. Inshallah, we'll have them next time. So we'll have Claude and Najeeb, then we'll go to Faisal and Anar.
Yeah, I wanted to just really thank you guys for creating such a powerful platform, not only for sharing, but also of generosity and also powerful action. Really, 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 the perpetrators bank on silence and indifference, which is my ongoing disagreement with Kambale when he says that when he's speaking about Rwanda, he's speaking about just the regime and the military elites, but also Rwandans who are silent about the ongoing genocide in the Congo committed by the Rwandan regime and the Ugandan regime are complicit because that silence is what
please. Say it louder. Say it louder. I agree with you. Say it louder because I
Bring it up.
Yes,
Yes.
say it louder.
So I'm
Everyone,
starting at home. Yeah, I'm starting at home. Rwandans who are silent. So we have Rwandans who are cheerleaders of the regime. And then we have Rwandans who are silent, who are cowering into silence. And there's a saying that goes, our silence will not save us. And our silence will actually contribute to the genocide, the ongoing genocide of the Congolese people. That is what is happening. And I want to make it a little bit wider to now us as a global community. When we see genocide happening in Sudan, we see genocide happening in Gaza, and we see genocide happening in Congo. And now we're talking about other genocides, like genocide of Black people in America, and we remain silent. We are complicit in it. And it's important to speak up. It's important to take action. It's important to give. That it's really, really a betrayal of the people to be silent and to look the other way. Because when we do, there's a child that is, or a woman that's being brutalized, or and I'm just using sanitized word. They are being assaulted and horribly killed, and in some ways horribly sexually assaulted. You have now that leads to displacement and starvation. But everybody has power. Our voice is powerful. Our 2 feet are powerful. Our pockets are powerful, and we have to use every tool possible in our toolbox and every tool and every means necessary to make sure that these genocides end. And so I just wanted to thank you guys for continuing to open this platform. My commitment is to continue to bring voices forward from Congo, Rwanda, and other parts of the world, and also to connect this community with at least the media contacts that we have, so that, you know, the voices from this forum can go and get out to a wider audience, as long as that this is something that is welcomed here. And my last remark is that I am planning to be at the conference in September, and that will be part of my Congo Week action. And so the theme of my participation will include action on Congo Week. It's going to be right in the middle of Congo
What
Week.
state are you in, Claude?
I'm in Tennessee. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, my brother is there. So bring my brother and come, please. Yeah. And
okay.
Yes. Any more activists
Yes.
please let us know.
Yes, connect me with him. And then I had a question. Hopefully, I'll get an answer on the mental health support for the folks who are participating in the hunger strike. Yeah, I know some in Tennessee that may potentially provide support. I just don't know about the licensing, but I would just like to get a little bit more information so I can make those connections, because that sounds like it's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So in the spirit of sharing resources, you know, I'm happy to make those connections also.
Perfect. Thank you, Claude.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So Claude, I mean, thank you. Thank you for offering your help, for your advocacy, and for saying that those who are silent are choosing the side of the aggressor. They are part of the problem. They are not just neutral, they're part of the problem, wherever they are. And we want to also highlight one thing. When you have complete disrespect for human life, any life, whether it's in Congo or in Gaza or in Sudan, you are removing the sanctity of your own life, the worth of your own humanity. When children see children anywhere else, regardless of where the location is or the color is, blown into pieces, and this becomes the norm, this becomes an everyday event that they can witness. When our children here in the United States, whether they're white or brown or black, see starved children, their ribs coming out of their bones, dying out of starvation, they lose their sense of safety. We lose, if human life, if we stay silent in front of these faces, this means we don't have respect for our own lives. And we are making our own selves the next target. Because if you allowed this, if this was okay now, then who's going to protect you tomorrow? If you do not, if we all don't do everything we can, as Claude said, everything we can, and no one is has no power. Every one of us can do something. If we don't do everything we can to respect the sanctity of human life everywhere, then we are losing our own humanity, and we are making ourselves the next target, and we are contributing to creating a dark world, a dark future that none of us really wants to be part of. So it is time that we have to claim our humanity and our collective as humanity worth and sanctity for our life. So thank you. Najeeb, Dr. Zoubi, تفضل, reflections on the day. I know it's a long time. It's 3 hours.
Well, it went like 10 minutes. So
misery can feel very brief.
It's actually eye-opening for me to hear about the other genocides, and to realize that we're just one people. Doesn't make a difference whether you're black, brown, white, whatever. This is clearly a problem with classes. There are rulers of this world, and they want to control everything. And no matter whether you're their ally today, that you can be disposed of easily tomorrow. Sometimes, we look at it as a race issue, but it's not really races. It's all about power and control, and and learning, and it's a group of thugs basically that are becoming highly sophisticated using AI, learning using Gaza and other genocide areas as learning grounds for what to do with the next genocide, and make it look like, hey, this is normal, and making the victims appear as if they are the attackers. And that will happen in every genocide. There's a script that was developed, and it's just being perfected now by the Israeli government, and is being sold all over the world for other people to use. So we need to be really very vigilant about this situation, and trying to teach all the people all over the world that we have to stand united against the thugs, basically, no matter what our race is, and no matter what the thugs' race is, because it's a class war. That's all what I wanted to say, and thank you so much for organizing this and inviting me to speak.
Thank you, Najeeb. Yes, that's very accurate diagnosis. They are perfecting the prescription of genocide based on all the previous history of genocides, and they are adding it to it the sophistication of technology and AI and sophisticated weapons, and they are selling it as a very profit-making tool to commit genocides for other countries, other nations. So as depressing as it is, the Israeli economy actually has boomed in the last year or two while they're committing genocide, because they are coming with all these lethal weapons and drones and systems that many corrupt leaders in the world, they're paying billions and billions of dollars for. So as long as those people do not get get held accountable and pay for their crimes, they're gonna actually not just get away with it. They're gonna become even more powerful and more rich and more lethal because they become more invincible. So it is time to stop them now, hold them accountable wherever they are. And again, our enemy is not our neighbor. Our enemy is not the black or the brown or the white or the immigrant. It's the enemy between the upper class and the lower. It's top down relationship classes about the elite, the mega rich, the powerful who are controlling the world, and that their power, the amount of their power and wealth made out of exploitation of the masses of the world, it's growing exponentially. So the more we wait to hold them accountable, to dismantle these systems that giving them the impunity, the harder it's going to be for the people of the world to get rid of them. So yeah, a very, very, very important point, Najeeb. We have, I don't know if, yes, we have Dr. Anar Silic from California. Welcome for your reflections, please.
Hi, thank you so much. It's such an honor for me to be sharing the screen with everyone here who works so hard to fight genocide, to fight the most horrible thing that, that I've seen in my lifetime, and to educate us all about the many places that this is happening. And I think the one thing that I wanted to reflect on today was the tradition that of healing that all of us are, or most of us here are involved with is medicine. And what sets us apart is that our tradition is that understanding the process, the pathophysiology, the way the disease occurs, is what allows us to cure it and what allows us to prevent it. And I think this group is really incredible for so many reasons, but especially for looking at the many different genocides that are taking place and that have taken place, to understand how this really occurs. And clearly we can rule out a lot of the reasons that, we sometimes jump to, or we think this is a particular group of people. That's clearly not the case. This is a disease that we need to understand in order to prevent it and in order to cure it, to make sure that we can all, as a humanity, that we can all heal from this. So thank you so much. And I can't express my gratitude for the work that this group does. Thank you.
Anar, it's your group. You're a Dagster through and through.
Especially you're a surgeon, you're a trauma surgeon. You need to be, you are the front line. So
yes.
Whenever
you open your mouth, it feels like, she's one of us. So, thank you.
A huge honor. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Jihan, كيفك Jihan?
You're muted, حبيبتي.
Okay.
So before you start, Jan, we want
شكرا دكتور نجيب يعني for the information.
Yes, before you start, Jan, we want to thank you and thank your group for the amazing work they're doing in Gaza. They are very professional, they're very organized, and they're really doing an amazing job with the soup kitchens and delivering the food to the needy families. And we're honored to be working and partnering with you. Great job.
It's our honor. It's our honor. You give us this opportunity. The situation in Gaza is disaster and need all the effort. And what we are doing, we and the other, it's a drop of the sea, really we need to do, it's very important. Action is very important. We should speak for the people of Gaza, do anything, action, we should do something. And thank you for all the group. They are amazing. We are Haya Washington and all the people, we are really honored to work with each other, to complete each other. Each one of us has his part. We should do the part. We should do, this is our responsibility. I repeat always to say it's our responsibility, it's our duty to do our part. People in Gaza deserve, they are, what you are doing, it's our duty, but they said always, they are grateful for what we are doing. They always say to us, thank you. Oh, I said, it's our duty. Why you say thank you? Alhamdulillah that we can do something. We feel that we do our duty.
Karama.
Yes, I was just texting people, working for the conference. So we have our Doctors Against Genocide second annual conference open for registration. So please register, become a DAG member and register. We look forward to seeing everyone in Michigan. And we will tackle genocide as a medical community together. We will be looking into all the genocides that we have been talking about, including Tigray, Congo, Sudan, Gaza, the history of genocide, the epidemiology of genocide, how does genocide compare to medical conditions, and why it should be our business as a medical community. This will be a way for us to work together, get energy from solidarity and from information and science, and do the best we can as a collective. So please check out the website for the conference, and we will start releasing the names of the speakers. We have a lot of great speakers, and our most important speakers are really our members. We have fantastic Doctors Against Genociders, Dagsters, as Dania said, who are excellent speakers, and we look forward to hearing from them, having time together in person, and hopefully coming with plans to be even more effective in confronting all these atrocities together. Mariam, you have your hands up.
So, sorry, I forgot something because I was so overwhelmed by thinking about 3 genocides, but Danya reminded me. So I'm hoping most people, well, I figured most people probably don't know that the US State Department decided to stop issuing the visas to people coming out of Gaza. And I figure members of the public should really take up that cause, make that maybe one of the central things you call the White House about this week. But if you haven't heard of it already, Laura Loomer, social media influencer, right-winger, no real credentials for anything important, and Randy Fine, a politician that somehow got elected, both human manifestations of rectal abscesses, essentially. They took up the cause of, Palestinian kids coming here through Heal Palestine and PCRF for medical treatment. And they said that these kids represented like migration of like jihadists and things like that. And, tag Rubio and Noam and all these other people. And as happens with this administration, Twitter apparently is how we decide how we're going to do things on a policy level. Very next day, the US State Department said it was going to halt issuing visas. Now, the State Department has clearly been involved in these kids getting visas all along. Heal Palestine, PCRF, these are not refugee relocation services. They're here for medical treatment, and we're barely getting kids out as is. So I suggest people call the White House and let them know how they feel about this government deciding that we can't bring just a handful of kids that we've named here for medical treatment because they saw fit to listen to two people. So have them listen to the American public and how we feel about that. It makes me really, really angry to think about. I mean, oh my God. Anyway.
Imagine if they used this, how efficient they are, if they used their energy in preventing genocide instead of solidifying it. If it's one social media post from Laura Loomer made the State Department change a whole policy. So that means that they can actually end this genocide with one or two steps, and they choose not to. Whether it's in Gaza, whether it's in Congo, whether it's in Sudan, same thing. This country, we live in a country that is extremely powerful, resourceful, full of people who can actually do things. And that's why our voices in this country matter more than, elsewhere. In the Middle East, we have dictatorships. People there cannot speak, but they are also in impotent countries that can do nothing. But we are here in the belly of the beast. And that's why it is very important, like Claude said, to not be silent observers and to speak and to talk and to exercise our civil duties. Shoo, Maribeth. We think you speak Arabic.
Before we go to Maribeth, one more thing. To build on what you said, Krama. For people who are in this country, the United States, if you are a citizen, let's take the people who are on green card or a visa apart. Maybe they do have some good reason to worry about. If you are a citizen of this country, you should have nothing to worry about. There is nothing they can do for you. Whatever they can do for you, you can go against them harder and you can make your point even stronger. Actually, I want them to come at us. The more they come at us, the more we punish them because we are on the right side of history. Everything they do for us will expose their crimes. The same that they are committing against the children, the amputated children who are coming. If you really don't want the amputated children to come here for treatment, maybe you should have stopped your bombs and stopped the genocide a long time ago and stop wasting our tax dollars on bombs. Oh, you have money to send it to from our tax to send it for bombs, but you don't have money to allow children with amputations, critical injuries to come here to be treated. Actually, it just makes them look terrible and it makes us stronger. And every time they come at us, we should go against them harder. So if you are an American citizen, that is a privilege that you have and you are entrusted with it, you need to use it. If you are not using it to the maximum that you can, you are complicit yourself. There is nothing that this country, this administration can do to you if you are a citizen by speaking on behalf of the victims, speaking against the genocide, speaking, against injustices, speaking for the immigrants, speaking for the black, speaking for the vulnerable, wherever they are. So if you are not using that, you are complicit and you are part of the problem. Yeah, thank you. Maribeth, go ahead.
Just a reminder, August 23rd is the film screening hosted by DAG with a Q&A afterwards of Gaza, Doctors Under Attack, that you can get tickets through the website, through the IG.
Okay, for those in New York, if you can join for that movie in New York, yeah, that's great. It's there. We can share that link in the chat. I think we're done for the day. Anything else, Karama? Anything else we forgot? I'm sure we forgot a lot of things because there's so much going on.
We're done. I think we covered a lot today. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience for sitting, staring at the screen for 3.5 hours. And for all our wonderful speaker, Dr. Swiyang is here.
Oh, you're here. Go ahead. We want you to say the final words, please. The closing remarks, Dr. Sweet. It's all yours.
Wow, I mean, it's
We
just
just
been
want everyone to do more, please.
no. I think I'm so honored to be with you, and it's very, very moving and inspiring, and it's empowering as well. That's all I have to say. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ang. Dr. Ang has been in this fight for justice since 1980. That's the latest. And she was an eyewitness to the massacre at Sabra and Shatila. And when that happened, we thought that would be like the most horrible thing that happened in the world. Unfortunately, now it looks like it's nothing compared to what they have been doing now in Gaza. And that's all because of the impunity. Because if they get away with one massacre, with one crime, with one genocide, the perpetrators feel emboldened to commit more and more, become more lethal, more sophisticated. So please, everyone, call your politician, call the president, call your elected officials tomorrow to allow the children to come in and tell them if you really don't want the children to come in, stop sending bombs, stop the genocide now so we don't have more, amputated children or more children who are needing this help. And if they really don't want the people from Gaza or from Sudan or from any other country to come here, maybe they need to get out of their countries too. Get out their systems, get out their Zionists, take them away, throw them to Mars or throw them to the garbage, to the trash, and leave the people in Gaza alone, leave the people in Sudan alone, and take their Zionists, and they can shove them wherever they want. Because that land is for the natives, for its real owners. The Zionists are like a foreign body that has been a source of inflammation, a source of distress, a source of disaster for the last century. A country or a regime or a foreign body that inserted by force illegally will continue to be this. And if you need to spend so much money and commit so much crime and kill so many lives all the time, you need to be in constant war just to be able to survive. This means maybe you need to say that maybe I don't belong in that area. Maybe you need to come up to this conclusion. So please, every one of us has an obligation, a moral, ethical, and professional, and human obligation to do more. Call, speak up, think of other ways, mobilize other people, educate more people. Every simple action counts. You never know when we can make the change, but as Nelson Mandela said, it always feel impossible until it's accomplished. So no mission is impossible, and we cannot give up on the children. I know we lost a lot. We lost a lot of victims, a lot of children, a lot of women, but there's still more who are still there surviving that we can protect by ending this genocide, isolating Israel, sanctioning it, imposing sanctions on it, and siege on Israel until it gives up its genocidal rhetoric, gives up its lethal weapons. Don't forget that Israel is a nuclear country that is genocidal, and that is the biggest threat to the world safety, stability, and order, along with the United States of America. So it is up to us, people of conscience in USA, all over the world, to dismantle these systems that are against life and against humanity and against justice everywhere. Thank you, everyone. Please do more. Remind us of any suggestions. We want to hear more from you, and we'll see you next week until Palestine is free, until Sudan is free, Congo is free, and until every child, every life in the world counts as much and very well respected. Thank you. Have a
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.